Good evening everyone, Daniel Miller here. How are you guys doing? Thank you very much for coming and joining my Anthem feedback broadcast. Hope that some of you who were with us early in the week are also here tonight. Hope you had a really good day. Hope you had a pleasant day at work, or if you were in college, or if you were, anywhere at school, or if you were coming back home. In Britain, we are facing some really bitter cold weather. A lot of snow coming our way all around the country, and people are struggling with commuting and getting back home. Many of them left early in order to be able to see their families and get back home safely, of course, because as you know, a lot of snow is posing a lot of threat on our roads. I've just seen that in Cornwall they had a major traffic jam with lots of vehicles involved, and so sorry to see that, because I do not have the pleasure and the privilege of needing to commute every day, so I'm spared the trouble. And in the area where I live, it is very cold, and we are expecting a lot of snow tonight and over the weekend. But what better way to be literally having snow outside and the cold weather everywhere, and then just simply having the opportunity to play Anthem, because our open demo is going to start tomorrow, and we'll have 3 full days to be exploring this dark, deadly, mysterious and truly wonderful world of Anthem, the latest BioWare product, the massive open world stroke FPS stroke sci-fi game, which has been produced, and indeed the BioWare team worked on it already for 7 years, and I think the word of Anthem already was spreading after the very excited to enter the arena last weekend and play that VIP demo. Although marred with lots of technical issues, we had a very good glimpse of what this game was like, what it is likely to be bringing us, and indeed we had a very good picture of that Anthem world, because prior to the weekend we just heard about it, and we did see a few trailers and clips and a bit of gameplay during the E3 in LA earlier last year, but this was the first opportunity to jump in with both feet and try it out for ourselves. And overall the experience has been very positive as far as the gameplay was concerned. Lots of people tried it, got in, and once the game began to work, I have to say, they really managed to explore the open world and fight lots of missions, 3 story missions and 1 stronghold. And towards the end of the weekend, as a kind of a goodwill gesture for us, for our participation and for our patience, the BioWare team unlocked all 4 Javelin suits. So if you were there on Sunday night, you were able to try, certainly for about good 6 hours, each one of those wonderful suits that we are to be using in this wonderful new game. I tried only 2 because I was experiencing a lot of lag and so-called rubber banding with my character, and lots of dead spots in my open world. So anytime I was progressing to a new destination, I'd be literally glued to a particular position, and then I was simply unable to move forward, which was really disappointing and really bothersome. And I had to struggle with that literally throughout the whole weekend. But as the Sunday progressed and we came to the later hours, I was able to play the game freely, and there weren't many interferences. Obviously some of the glitches and the problems were being tackled, and they were getting resolved, although a bit late in the day, you could see, considering we had those problems for about 3 days. So basically we had already 3 feedback sessions on Anthem this week, and I have to say I've been very surprised with the great number of people that had joined and basically brought us their comments and views. I was very grateful for the community participation. As you could see, this is primarily a Destiny community and Bungie community which I built during the last half year, and lots of Destiny veterans and other people who are great fans of the game are over here. They were really listening to what everyone else had to say, particularly those people who had engaged Anthem already during the weekend, who tried it for themselves, who are enjoying that open world, and lots of interesting comments and views on Anthem, BioWare, all the other Anthem related issues, and of course we had some questions on Anthem broadcast as well, which is going to be starting on the 22nd of February. So I'm very grateful for all of your contributions. I did mention several times that everything that is happening during the feedback sessions is recorded, and I'm forwarding the joint feedback to the developer, BioWare, in order for them to look at all the issues and concerns and everything positive and perhaps less so that is coming from our community. We had lots of messages coming on Twitter, on Instagram, also some emails. People were expressing some worry about the open world and particularly about the area called Endgame. Lots of fans were wondering what the Endgame is going to be like and what other provisions there will be by BioWare as we complete all those levels and missions. Well, we have some news on that as well today. So we'll have several sections really during this feedback. Initially, I'll give you just a quick rundown on all that is there to be known about Anthem, because as you know, lots of people coming here have not played the demo and they are basically participating in our Q&A in order to find out more about the game. I had at least a dozen messages coming in yesterday after the broadcast ended, and people said, we just caught the end of your broadcast when you were discussing various ins and outs of your Anthem streams, and with various members, we'd like to hear a bit more about the game, about what this game is about, what we'll be able to do. So I'll have a quick introduction on Anthem first of all. Then after that, we are going to be looking at the latest, the hottest of the press news that came to my desk today, directly from BioWare. And then we'll open it for a genuine discussion on everything Anthem related at the end. The introduction is going to be fairly brief, so please bear with me whilst I'm going through the motion of explaining javelin suits and everything we are to find there. And the open Q&A is going to be lengthy, so if you are listening to my introduction first, please be patient, and we are going to have plenty of time to talk at length really about everything Anthem related, with plenty of time to ask questions and also to interact with other community members. We had several junior Twitch streamers coming in yesterday, and they were asking whether Anthem was a good game to stream, and they're asking questions about how to build a community. So a really very, very interesting, very fertile discussion on how to build one's own channel and how to engage with the Anthem community, and also most importantly how to build it, because a lot of people are asking the question, what are the most important things when you are doing broadcasts? They're not specifically tied to Anthem, but indeed it was a good forum for us to discuss those issues, as lots of debating. If you're interested, you can just go to my archive, you'll find a session there, and from about 45 minutes or 50 minutes of the of the stream, you'll get all the questions and answers. So it'll be very interesting for you to explore, but many of those will spring up tonight as well, so I'm really quite certain that our fruitful discussion is going to continue. This is going to be our last feedback stroke Q&A session for this week. We've had 3 already, this is the 4th one in a row, and as you know, during the weekend we are going to be providing no feedback, but rather entertaining ourselves with the new demo, or I should say the new weekend of the old demo. And lots of work was being done on it. Hopefully the technical issues which were affecting us and plaguing us during the last weekend are not going to be present. We are really hoping that that is most likely, but we'll see tomorrow when the service is switched on. It is likely, and I like to ask everyone for patience, that other problems will spring up which were not visible during the VIP testing. The reason for that is tomorrow is the open demo, which means we'll have probably a tenfold increase on the number of viewers. And I really wonder how many people enter the arena during the weekend, because I had the stats indicating that 1 million stronghold missions were completed. 1 million. And considering it was what's called the VIP demo test weekend, I was staggered by the sheer number. It means that more than 1 million people already had pre-ordered the game, and that is indeed both phenomenal and very encouraging for the developer and the publisher. So thank you to everyone who pre-ordered, and hope you enjoyed everything you've seen. Indeed, if you are considering what to buy, I would recommend you the Legion of Dawn edition, which has lots of niceties. I'll explain and pronounce some of those niceties in detail a bit later. And we have one community member here, Mirage Scythe 00, coming in and with messages. Thank you, sir, for coming, really appreciate it. Before I start with the introduction, I will just reflect on what the new community member is saying. and then we'll go through the introduction. So once I'm reading the introduction and going through the motion of explaining what's what, I will not be able to respond to the messages. I'd like to really, ask everyone for patience, and then all the questions will be obviously recorded, and I will be able to respond to all of them one by one as we conclude with the beginning. And Mirage is saying Colossus was awesome, but components are the key to great build. I absolutely agree, sir. And also, I think you would have seen that the BioWare, visual team had spent an enormous amount of time on every single detail in the game. Obviously, the greatest amount of time was spent on Javelin suits, and when you are to be customizing the suit, you can literally dismantle it with so many different pieces, and each one of those is customizable. So I think, considering that there will be some microtransactions which will be entirely cosmetic in purpose, people will be able to buy and combine lots of different designs of the Javelin suits, which will have no impact on the actual gameplay. And I certainly thought that the attention to detail was staggering. Really, it excelled all the other BioWare games which I played, many of which I obviously love. I'm a very dedicated fan of BioWare and have been for more than 15 years. So absolutely amazing. And as our friend and community member Mirage is saying, these components which are customizable are very, very important, and they will be particularly attractive to our junior gamers who want to be coming to the what's it called, the family hub, or the social hub, where everybody in the community is going to have the opportunity to kind of join, talk, show off a bit, connect, make new friends, and basically have a lot of entertaining content presented to one another. Mirage is saying 9 million hours logged in 2.5 days. 9 million hours logged in, which is staggering. 9 million hours were spent on the gameplay, and 1 million strongholds were completed. So that really, I don't really know what the stats of some of the games are, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's possible that some of the all-time records will be broken. It's very possible. Don't forget, everyone who loves BioWare and who's been to the wonderful Dragon Age world and obviously participated in the Mass Effect trilogy will be there and very interested to see what the new game's about. So many members, old and new, will be certainly coming tomorrow to experience this wonderful new game. And Mirage is also saying that 2 million Grabbits killed. Well, that's right. And the executive who supervises BioWare live operations, Mr. Chad Robertson, in fact did make a remark in his posting saying, like, what's wrong with people that Grabbits killed 2 million of them and they're really not bothering anyone. They're not the enemy. They were just simply the most peaceful looking creatures hovering about. And as we know, everyone was trigger happy trying to really explore the subclass skills and their weapons, primary and secondary. So I think those Grabbits were probably the ideal targets for the sniper rifles, and perhaps some of their subclass skills as well. Well, it has been noted, and indeed I really find it quite extraordinary that everybody wanted to really come in and experience the Anthem world to that degree. 9 million hours logged in for the VIP demo, which actually was offered to a small number of gamers, primarily to those people who either purchased the game in advance, i.e. pre-ordered, or whether they also be the other people who are members of Electronic Arts Origin scheme. And I think some people also were given the codes in order to come in and join as friends to those people who purchased. And we also had some codes given away for free, as well as some of those which were sold. So you could say a sizable but rather small community compared to what is to come during the next weekend. Equally very, very interesting to see what the developments are going to be and how the gamers are going to be connecting, engaging and trying the gameplay. I can tell you that for myself, I had the opportunity to play with quite a few different people on the weekend, and there was one particular team I just joined randomly, and we worked so well together. We had 4 separate Javelin suits in the team, and they literally just read my mind, realizing that my Storm had all these subclass abilities and they were allowing me to be using them. and then another member, Colossus, was providing massive firepower, backing me up and obviously watching my six, as we say in military, and it worked beautifully well. The tragedy of it all was we were doing that stronghold mission, and then just as we were about to destroy the Swarm Tyrant, the game crashed, so we couldn't collect our experience points, and we couldn't really have our scores, and I couldn't even get the names of those wonderful people who joined in. So that was very disappointing, but you know, on other missions we were able to both set the score and record our achievements, which actually provide us with very, very nice wallpaper. And as you've seen on my postings, which are on Twitter and Instagram, when you have the scores presented with medals and experience points, they just look very, very pretty, and I'm sure everybody is going to be very, very keen on simply recording them and keeping them for their own meticulous research. Mirage says, I accidentally stumped on them. Colossus is huge. Absolutely, Colossus is huge, and I did play several Stronghold missions with one or two Colossuses in my team, and they were really, really useful because my Storm character, or Storm Javelin if you want it, is very vulnerable, you know, because Storm does have these special abilities and therefore does have a very kind of small shield, which is not really incoming fire resistant, so therefore it's very important that Storm is working in conjunction with a Ranger and Colossus, and I guess Interceptor. Interceptor is the fastest character out of 4, and then, you know, everything is based on the powers that each Javelin suit has and how they're being integrated within a particular team. So really I can foresee many, many hours of fantastic, very exciting, most entertaining gameplay. And indeed, Anthem is going to be best experienced when you play it in a team. You will have the option of doing it by yourself, but I think if you're starting out literally from the word go with your friends, it might be the best idea just to get it together with other 3 guys and do it as a team of 4. Mirage says components can be beef up shields, HP and armor. Absolutely, yeah. But you know, I've not been able to try all the ins and outs of the game during the demo, as many of those were not accessible. They are going to be obviously made ready for the full game once released, and then we'll see exactly what we can do. But certainly as a taster, the demo was much more than just a demo. It wasn't a snippet of what we are likely to experience. It did provide us with up to 8 hours of gameplay, which was story related, as well as the free play, which most people could access, I could not, and then those attacks on a stronghold, where we had to be defeating that Swarm Tyrant, and to get to him we had to be flying, running, sprinting and swimming, as well as diving, exploring some underground caves, you know, and doing all sorts of things which were sometimes a bit difficult. It was difficult for myself to orientate whilst doing that diving, but I found a way around and it all worked out at the end. Right, so let's have a look at the introduction. I had a couple of questions coming in already. What is Anthem on my Twitter and also on my emails. So if you bear with me, dear friends, I will just give a very brief introduction on what Anthem is actually about, and then we'll proceed to our news, and after that we'll open it for questions and for, you know, community-based feedback. As said, the broadcast can last up to 3 hours, so you will have plenty of time and opportunity to ask all questions. So, you know, it is going to be very, very good for everyone who still wants to squeeze in their opinions and views. As you know, everything collated here as feedback is fully recorded and published, and at the end I will be collecting the feedback and forwarding it to the developer, BioWare. It'll go directly to some of the members of the top team. And as you know, they're very keen on receiving joint feedback from various broadcasters, because obviously that feedback comprises the views of very many, not just of certain individuals. Not to say that individual views are not important. If you feel very strongly about anything, then please do write to either Casey Hudson or Sila Costa or Mark Dara. So these are the 3 people who are leading this team. Mr. Dara is the director, Mr. Costa is the lead producer, and the overall manager, the overall boss of the project is Mr. Casey Hudson. You will know him from Mass Effect Trilogy, of course, and they will be very, very glad to receive your comments and views. They were very, very attentive. They work 24/7 during the weekend. in responding to many different people. In fact, I can tell you that as I posted my feedback, they responded more or less immediately, and they really liked some of the postings. They particularly liked the feedback, which was expressing my kind of appreciation and desire to get in as soon as possible. I couldn't wait for the 22nd of February. And they liked some of the screenshots and gameplay, which was also linked to Swarm Tyrant and myself learning to fly. So directly really received responses from the lead producer, Mr. Costa, and also from the overall manager, the big boss, Mr. Hudson. So I was very excited and encouraged to see that indeed they were responding to their community members and indeed paying attention to everything said. So beware, if you have certain points, do present them here and they will be forwarded. Mirage is saying Anthem demo got an update, so it should be a lot more stable. And also Mirage says friends and I had loading trouble, but game was amazing fun. Well, I can certainly tell you that a lot of people concluded in the same fashion. They said initially there were lots of problems with trying to get in, and then once they got in, things worked out. May I just ask you, Mirage, what platform did you play the demo on? Were you on PlayStation, Xbox, or on PC? Yesterday I opened this up and I didn't have many responses and people stating what platform they were doing it on. And I really want to see that and I really want to hear that. And I'll tell you why. The focus on the internet forums was perhaps not as much on separate platforms, but there were different problems experienced on each platform. And therefore I'm quite interested and really curious to hear what problems were there for the PC users and also for the Xbox users, because I was doing it on PlayStation 4, so I know what the problems were plaguing us in the UK. I'm not sure what problems were there for the PC and Xbox users. So if you are one of the guys who are testing the game on PC or Xbox, then please come in and indeed let me know, and I'll be obviously able to divide that into subsections on PC stroke PS4 stroke Xbox. I do know that Xbox users were struggling still on Sunday, and they had difficulties with logging in, and there was a lot of dissatisfaction expressed on Twitter by some of those Xbox users. They felt that they were being neglected because the posting from Bible was indicating that they were spending a lot of time on the PC version. So, but I can assure you that they were not really prioritizing just one platform. And Mirage says that he played from PS4. And that's basically the same as myself. And Mirage says we didn't care how many times we had to load, we just wanted to play the game and we wanted to play more. Absolutely. That was exactly the same feeling I had. I actually did not have many problems with logging in. Once the service was switched on, I was able to log in with ease. But I had problems with rubber banding. The lag present in certain areas was giving me dead spots. So when I came to those dead spots and I couldn't tell where these dead spots were, my character was literally glued to that spot. And if you were the third person or another team member looking at me, I would look like I was just standing doing nothing, right? But actually on my screen, playing my character, I was going backwards and forwards. I was glued, it was like literally going backwards and forwards, so trying to jump up and then I would be grounded immediately. And it was infuriating and particularly annoying at the point where I would be facing the enemy. Let's say I engaged, with them, I was in the middle of a firefight and then the enemy would be just shooting at me because I'm not moving anywhere. It's just like a cannon fodder, and I'd be killed straight away. Because obviously some of the enemies are very powerful. So that was the trouble for me, really, and it was recorded also on my broadcast. And Mirage says that he had rubber banding once and it cleared rather quickly. Are you in the US or in the UK, or whereabout are you worldwide? Because the UK servers were really suffering quite a bit, and we've had rubber banding literally throughout the weekend. I've heard from my US community members that in the US this was less of a problem. In the US there was the login difficulties, and the other was the infinite loading. The infinite loading was present across all platforms, and BioWare team identified that as the major technical issue, which was neither anticipated, nor desired, and it just kept popping up. They said it wasn't server-based, it was simply something that occurred as the game was engaging so many players worldwide. So, Alright, so let's give a bit of an introduction on Anthem. Anthem is the latest game from fan favorite RPG studio BioWare. We know BioWare for, of course, Dragon Age, for Mass Effect, for Baldur's Gate, and for various other games as well. And indeed one of my favorite game developers. Following the footsteps of the studio's previous work, Anthem is a third-person action RPG. Although I have to say, whilst you are at the Fort Davis, the base, you are actually playing POV. So you are the first person, but generally for the action sequences, you are a third-person action RPG. You play as a freelancer. Freelancer is similar to the Guardians in Destiny. Someone who pilots an exosuit called a Javelin suit in order to explore an alien world and defend its inhabitants from dangerous creatures and wandering hostile marauders. I really wonder how many of those we are to be facing in the wild. As you know, the game was first revealed on Microsoft's E3 of 2017, and since then BioWare has released a selection of details concerning Anthem systems and some gameplay footage, the biggest one of which was prior to the demo testing, released at the E3 of 2018 in LA. And we obviously had several trailers in there and bits of gameplay, but then there was a chunk of about 20 minutes where one of the bosses was being attacked, and that was the first glimpse of the actual engagement, if you wanted, contact with the enemy, and it looked awesome. So basically, if you are interested in what other things are happening, what else is going to be there, etc., during this week the studio is releasing various kind of walkthrough tutorials in order to present you with how to customize the suit, how to enter the story, what to do. And one of them I would highly recommend. It's already out. It was released yesterday or early in the week, and presently you can watch it if you are on your PlayStation directly through the section that's inviting you to download the demo. So if you are going to the what's new, and you will have a pop-up saying play the Anthem demo, open demo this weekend, access that, and once you access it, the mini documentary on customization is going to play. If not, if you can't access it, if you're on another platform, then go to YouTube and access Anthem channel. And on Anthem channel, this is the latest video which have been released this week. The video is excellent. It's a small documentary on basically the game and what we need to be doing. It gives you a very good description of those Javelin suits and gives you some clues on customization. And what I find particularly interesting is that you are having several characters from the game with the dialogue, which is obviously in-game dialogue, talking at you and telling you what you should be doing. So that's the first time I've seen something like this, and it looks awesome. You really feel that those characters are there for you, and that you really then want to talk to them more. Just like what our friend Mirage said, didn't matter how many times you try to log in, you just want to play more. Well, that's exactly the same thing that you get after watching that mini documentary, developer documentary, where you feel that the characters are telling you something and you want to go back to them and you ask them more. And I think the guy who's responsible for the Javelin suits, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he's the one I wanted to talk to right from the beginning, because I did see him in the original trailers. And when wanting to access the dialogue with him, I got that pop-up saying you have to wait for the full game. And that was so infuriating, because I really wanted to talk to him about Javelin suit and everything else. And he's the one who's featuring quite prominently in that developer documentary. So do not miss that developer documentary. It's not giving away anything to do with the story or any other ins and outs of the game. It's just simply giving you a brief guide on what to do right at the beginning, and you get really the atmosphere of the game coming across really pertinently. So absolutely, please do. As I said, if you're on PlayStation, just go to the section that's telling you to download the demo, and the documentary is there. It will play automatically. Just open it. It's on what's new section on your PlayStation and console. And if you are on any other platform, then you can just go to YouTube channel of Anthem and access that the latest posting. Basically, you can't miss it, and it's very, very enjoyable. And I can see that Mirage is saying that he's in Central US, and all EA servers were having issues last weekend. It was strongly felt, they said, across all platforms. And he also says that some NPCs can't affect your suit's performance, so keep them happy. Great. So that's very, very good to know. And we'll see, as we enter the full game, what we can, what we cannot do. But I'm sure that lots of things will be customizable. And also, in addition to that, there is the big announcement on the end game, and that will, I believe, come out on Sunday evening. And that's the great sort of anticipation from all the community members and gamers worldwide, that we'll hear something from the team on what happens once we complete the final mission. And that certainly was one of the biggest concerns that I had received through messages coming from you guys, from the community, since Monday. Everybody said, well, this looks wonderful, but what happens when we come to the end? Well, we'll hear from the studio. We can't really answer it, but I'm quite certain they'll take a position which is similar to what Bungie did with the new missions allocated. Whether it is going to be done through a form of annual pass or downloadable content, we have to see. But I think the idea is to keep the Anthem world alive, vibrant, full of growth, and indeed a kind of world which is going to be operating similar to the one we live in, which means we carry on, we live on, and the Anthem world also carries on and lives on. So that's the idea, I think, which they're trying to really integrate with Anthem for the first time. And Mirage is saying you can feel how past titles like Mass Effect really helped this. Well, absolutely, sir. Absolutely, they really are the foundation stone for the basic idea of Anthem. And if you remember when the wonderful Mass Effect 2 came out, there were many concerns, and even you could say complaints, that the team of 3 could not be really played by 3 separate gamers. You could just play one of the characters by yourself, and that is what literally triggered off thinking on the multiplayer and the game which would be solely the multiplayer. And then after the Mass Effect 3 came out, they started working on Anthem in earnest. So it wasn't just the development plans, they cracked on immediately, and the biggest number of team members were involved from the beginning. So the game's been already in development for more than 6 and 7 years, and we have seen just a glimpse of it really during the demo. The result is simply staggering, and just like you said, sir, the open world of Mass Effect is incredible. I mean, I've played all the other open world games, but I think still Mass Effect 2 stands out as one of the industry leaders. So therefore we are very, very excited and interested to see how that flavor of Mass Effect, which is immediately present when you open your demo. I'm sure if you played Mass Effect, you'd agree with me. A lot of people worry that Anthem is going to be similar to Destiny. It doesn't have the flavor of Destiny at all. You really feel it has this flavor of Mass Effect, but so it should, because it's the same studio. And you will want to have something which is recognizable. Really like the idea that you recognize these elements, and this is just like an extension. It's another world which is built next to the Mass Effect world. You play it, you have different characters, different abilities and all sorts, but actually it feels similar. It feels similar in terms of its layout and the commands and controls which you'll be using, and I really appreciate that. It just feels a lot smoother. I felt the aiming was more precise. The mobility of my character was a lot more placid. I could just literally walk nicely. It was also easy to control, and it was very easy to fly, very easy, and it was very easy to navigate through various sections in there when you were flying. Easy to dive, easy to really use all special powers as well as special weapons. So really massively enhanced. A lot of time was spent on that for certain. Mirage is saying that it's likely that we are going to be having a game expansion. Yes, that's right. I mean, I just wonder whether they are to be offering an annual pass, where the content is going to be automatically provided on subscription, or whether we are to be buying specific downloadable content. This is basically down to BioWare and EA to decide, but there is going to be a lot of additional content for certain, because the world is built in that fashion. It's the world which is both growing and evolving. And that is what will really keep the community together. And Mirage says, even combat has me feel but expanded and free. Yeah, I mean, combat was very exciting, and I think particularly from the viewpoint that you have three different characters in addition to yourself entering the arena and then using different abilities. And if you have, like I had, 3 other guys who are in separate Javelin suits, have a team of 4 Javelin suits in the combat arena, it does provide you with you can use all sorts of subclass abilities that you have. If you wear Storm, you can be using your sturdiness and firepower. If you're Colossus, you can use your speed. If you're Interceptor, and as Ranger, you can use your precise aiming. So you can literally decide on a strategy how to attack and then position your characters accordingly. It will be very, very enjoyable. So, you know, really absolutely astonishing. Right, so the question that I had from some of the junior gamers coming on Twitter was, how do you play Anthem? What do you do in Anthem? And the answer is quite simple. On one hand, when you look at it conceptually, but not in any other way, Anthem bears a resemblance to the games like Destiny, and that's primarily in the terms of that open world, nothing else, you know. And obviously it's a sci-fi game, it's a shooter, but it feels a bit more strategic when you play this demo. It does, because you can control all 4 characters and you can really, you know, they have different abilities, and you just feel that, well, actually I have to work out on a strategy from the word go, which is not what I felt when playing Destiny, literally from the word go, but certainly strategy is required in there as well. And then the other game, which is similar to a degree as a tactical shooter, is The Division. And I guess the similarity is purely in terms of the fact that you have 4 characters together working as a team, nothing else. You know, it's a completely different world, completely different strategy, everything is on a different planet, literally. And so in that, it's a shared world multiplayer shooter where you create a custom character, then you complete missions, you collect loot, you can upgrade your characters, weapons and equipment. You can do all of that by yourself, and all the while there is also a main story campaign which is packed with NPCs with their own unique stories who you can build relationships with. There is some player choice also thrown in, but at the same time there were some concerns expressed about the dialogue, that perhaps it's going to be minimized and the focus is going to be on strategy and shooting. I can certainly tell you that is not the case, okay? What I've experienced was the depletion of some of the options, right? So in Mass Effect, you would have had maybe 5-6 options which you could pursue when talking to certain characters, like different approaches, different emotions which would have come across. During the demo, we've had 2 options presented. So you have many characters that we can talk to. So we're not talking about the number of characters being kind of cut down. That's absolutely not the case. Very many characters. But the types of options which you were pursuing, well, at least in the demo, were simplified. So the options there were either kind of warrior-like, perhaps a bit abrasive and a bit arrogant, and the other was being kind of diplomatic, polite and courteous. So there were the 2 options that I toyed with the answers which I was given to the character you know, in conversation. So that is the difference, and that will be possibly significantly different compared to Mass Effect. But if you're asking yourself, is this going to be more shooting based and less dialogue based, the answer is absolutely no. That was not something that we would have experienced during the demo at all. In fact, we had so many characters who we could not access. You know, they all want to talk to us, and then when clicking on the character, we'll give a message indicating that we are going to be able to do that once the game is released in full. So, you know, a good taster, and I think a very, very good marketing thought on behalf of BioWare, because they knew that there are certain characters who are particularly important for the game, and we would be very eager to speak to them, but we couldn't do that on the demo. We had to be waiting for the full game, and that's terrific. I really applaud them for that. It really, you know, really very, very good trick, because you can talk to some of them, but not to the majority, and you know that the majority are important for the story missions, and you want to find out what the story's like. So all of that is basically part and parcel of Anthem. And the other thing which needs to be said in response to that question, how do you play Anthem, is if you are going to be playing Anthem, you will have to be having your platform connected to the internet. You will know from the game description that it is a full multiplayer, and you can also play as a single player, right? But that doesn't mean that you can do the single player missions offline, which is the case in lots of other games. You will have to be connected to the internet, and it is a multiplayer game, which obviously you are going to be doing. So remember that if you are having difficulty in accessing internet, or you don't have it at home, then do have an afterthought, you know, because you might buy the game and then you'll try it and it will not work because it'll ask you to connect to the internet. Indeed, if you are having your internet at home, you are then provided with two choices, either to play as a single player or do it in a team of 4. And if you're in a team of 4, you can be inviting your friends to join you, or indeed you can be simply asking the game to select those other guys to come in. And they are also saying that the matchmaking is going to be very, very precise, so you're not going to be thrown in with people who are your Anthem veterans or people with fantastic scores, but perhaps people who are more tailored to your own level of skill and ability. And I think if that happens, then that is going to be very, very helpful. I mean, I played some of the games with people who are veterans, and then I guess some of the junior players, they like really chasing the score or trying to really get to a certain point quickly enough, and obviously as they've done it a million times, they don't know exactly where to go, so they're sort of jumping certain hoops. And I think if you are doing it as a online multiplayer where you are not streaming, then that's fine. But if you're running a channel, if you're presenting gameplay to worldwide audience, then that is a concern. So getting people together who have the same degree of ability and skill will be obviously fundamental, and I applaud BioWare for that as well. So while inherently an online cooperative multiplayer game, it is possible to experience all of Anthem also by yourself when you do it as a single player, but you have to be connected to the internet. Both camps can be affected by live events, so the live events are actually similar to what we had in Destiny. When you're playing a mission and suddenly there's this event, you got the option of joining or not joining it. And these live events then alter the world in subtle but yet significant ways, so they can really affect the storyline, they can affect subquests as well, so it'd be very important whether you decide to participate or not, because sometimes in those missions there may be a character who's been rescued, and after talking to him you are likely to be then given some other mission, so the game is being basically expanded, and you can enjoy that as well. So remember that, don't miss out on those live events, but do take a decision whether you want to be in or not, depending on what you're doing. For example, reality distorting rifts known as Shaper Storms are events that can pop up and then cause you a lot of unexpected danger, so watch out for Shaper Storms. Day and night cycle and dynamic weather system also serve to mix up gameplay experiences, affecting the types of enemies you encounter. In fact, that was very, very good during the demo, because I entered certain missions and I could play them either during the daytime or in pitch black, and obviously doing it during the night was making it a lot more difficult for myself. But don't forget, if you're doing it at night time, the darkness works both against you and in your favor at the same time, in the same way as it would work for the enemy. So you will have to build a different strategy on what to do, where to hide and how to hit the enemy whilst you're doing it at night, although you might play the same mission during the day, and indeed a completely different strategy then would have to be deployed, depending on whether you're doing it during the day or during the night. And some of the difficulties were obviously connected to with the position, which you would be choosing in order to attack certain enemies, because enemies could be mobile, they could be flying, they could be turrets, there could be all sorts of vehicles, there could be everything. So really, it is providing you with a lot of challenge, in addition to the enjoyment of doing, a repeat gaming. You can be coming back to the game many, many times and playing the same missions and then enjoying them really to the full. So basically, when you're not out fighting, exploring this wonderful, mysterious, vast world of Anthem, you are going to be spending your time in Fort Tarsis, right? Fort Tarsis is your base, and it is a safe haven that also acts as the game's central hub. So when you're in the fort, you can customize your javelin, you can acquire new missions, you can rest in your personal home base, and interact with other players as well. Also, in an intriguing shift from normal play, you assume a first-person perspective when you are inside of Fort Tarsis. In fact, I did have several questions on Twitter, and some of the junior gamers were complaining that they did not like the fact that whilst you're inside of Fort Tarsis, you are basically looking at everyone from a first-person perspective. When you are fighting the battles, you are in a third-person perspective. So they didn't like the combination of the two. I can see that we have Hyperactive Gaming coming in with questions. I have to ask you for a bit of patience. because I'm doing the introduction in the game, which is in response to many messages which I received. I will be answering all questions in sequence as soon as the introduction is finished. But as you're obviously asking this, and you asked whether you can game share Anthem on PS4. No, I can't actually game share Anthem on PS4. You will have to buy it, and then you'll be able to come in as a fireteam member, one of those 4 members who are basically fighting the war in javelin suits. So if you're thinking of a cooperative gameplay, indeed you'll be able to come in and share, and you'll be able to come in also to people who are broadcasting. You'll be then obviously participating in the public broadcast if you were to be coming to my channel once the stream starts. And you can play either as a multiplayer in a team of 4 or as a single player. So that's basically the way it is going to work. And on PS4 you can pre-order already either the base game or the special edition called The Legion of Dawn, and then if you preload you will be able to crack on the 22nd of February if you are on PS4, Xbox or PC. And if you're a member of Origin, that's Electronic Arts Service, then I believe some of the sections are already going to be accessible on the 15th, a week earlier. L0 is here. Hello L0, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for joining our community. And L0 is asking, will this be live at 12 in the UK? Well, it's difficult to say. Servers are going to be operating after 1700 hours, so that is at 5 o'clock PM tomorrow. But I think it's worth checking, because sometimes servers are switched on earlier than that. Whether they are to be fully functional is to be seen. But I'd just say to everyone, keep trying, keep checking, because the service may well be tested and switched on much earlier. You may have some limited functioning, but it's worth trying. But the actual precise official hour for the UK platforms to be switched on is 1700 hours, right? 1700 hours, which in plain English is 5 PM. So if you're interested, that's the time where everything's going to be fully active. Otherwise, you can try earlier in the day, which is what I'm going to do. I'll try it already from 9 o'clock in the morning to see whether I can access everything or anything. And obviously I'll do my best, and we'll see whether the servers are fully active. If they're fully active, my stream will start, and you'll be able to see through my community that indeed we are cracking on. Hyperactive Gaming is asking, so I can't game share the game with my friend. What do you mean by game share? That 2 people could play the same game and 1 person purchased it? Well, no, that's actually not possible at all with any game. If you want to be doing a multiplayer, what you have to do is both people will have to be in possession of the same game, right? So you have your copy downloaded and your friend will have his copy downloaded, and then you enter the arena of Anthem and you play together. But 2 people together, being able to, let's say if you had the game and you wanted the other guy to join in and he didn't have the game, then he couldn't come in because he doesn't have the game installed on his platform. So that's basically that's the way it works, really. L0 says, okay, thanks a lot, this game is fun. Thanks very much, L0, for coming in. Thanks for joining our community, and I hope that you are going to be coming here to watch our Anthem broadcast once they start on the 22nd of February. We are building a sizable Anthem community already. We've had lots of people coming in on the feedback forum during the last 4 days. It's been very, very encouraging, and everyone was really very attentive, helpful, and very excited about the new BioWare product. And indeed, everyone who has been playing Destiny and Mass Effect and The Division and various other games is coming in and having a look. People want to try out and find out whether the game is similar or different. And indeed, I already said to everyone who is in my Destiny community, I think Anthem is going to be a beautiful addition to our Destiny world, meaning we are going to be able to play 2 of those games consecutively. One day we play Destiny, next day we play Anthem, or in the morning we have one Destiny stream, in the afternoon or evening we have another Anthem stream, and they are not going to be clashing because the essence of those 2 games is significantly different. And L0 says, sounds good, I will definitely tune in, maybe I'll join you the first time. Well, anytime, sir. Just make sure that you are following my channel, and then you'll get your regular notifications if you authorize them, and then you'll know where the stream is on. What I usually do is my streams are at the same hour, you know, and I generally run morning and evening streams, but presently I've been very focused on the evening streams, and that's to do with the way the Destiny community currently works. I have lots of community members in the US, and the US time zones with 7-hour difference are sometimes clashing with some of the schedules, and the experience and the feeling was that it's a lot better to be running it at the late hour. So my streams were starting on average between 6 and 7 o'clock PM, and they would last until 1 or 2 AM in the morning, and therefore I was not doing then the morning stream. But once we started Anthem, I will be back to the usual schedule, which is going to be a morning stream and an evening stream, and they will be quite focused on those 2 streams. And I really look forward to seeing you there, and not just yourself, everybody else who has come to the Anthem feedback forum. I'd like to see you there literally from the word go. And if you are also going to be in possession of the game, well, initially we are going to be exploring the world and all of that, but then later we are going to be doing everything together, and, you know, playing it as a multiplayer in large teams, and really just can't wait for everything to roll. So thank you for your contributions, and thank you for asking, and, you know, everyone should feel free to ask about any questions Anthem related, and lots of people came in and they asked about the actual timing of the open demo for tomorrow, and people asked also about ins and outs. Some people asked a specific question, and this question was about those 4 Javelin suits. You know, for all of us that were doing the testing during last weekend, we experienced lots of technical issues, and because we had experienced all that trouble, the developer had unlocked all 4 Javelin suits for us all. So everyone, every single gamer who was doing the VIP testing is going to have free access to all 4 Javelin suits from the word go tomorrow. I'm not certain, and I really wish to stress that, I'm not certain whether this is going to be accessible to everyone else coming in tomorrow for the first time. This was seen almost as an extra gift for everyone who pre-ordered, you know? Maybe all 4 Javelin suits are going to be accessible, but please do not complain to the company if you can just access the 2 rather than all 4. So that is really what is important to consider. I have lots of questions regarding this. People asking, well, is this going to be just for people who were there last week, or is it going to be for everyone? I personally don't know, but from the messages I had from BioWare, it seemed to me like all 4 Javelin suits were unlocked towards the end of Sunday as a reward for the patience that everyone displayed, and for the polite comments and feedback and everything else going their way, you know? Hyperactive is asking, just bear with me, if he downloads the copy I buy, then he'll have also my account. And Hyperactive is asking, primary, it would work right. Yeah, I mean, basically what you will do is your friend will purchase the game and you purchase the game. Well, to be honest with you, you know what you can do if you're not certain about pre-ordering. You just wait for the first weekend, right? And switch on Twitch and watch some of the streams, and watch the streams that literally start the game from the beginning, and then you'll be able to see what this game is actually like in action. So if you really love the game, if you kind of immerse yourself in everything you see, then obviously you will know this is the best way forward to buy the game and then do it together with somebody else. You know, it's always, we have the benefit of Twitch today. In my youth, I had no benefits of that sort, and the only way for me to try the game was literally to buy it and play it. It was not possible to share games either. You know, you had to have your own PC. You would buy a brand new game, which was very expensive at the time, and then you would try it on your PC, and then you talk to your friends, and then they will come and play together with you. It's a very different ballgame today. So, I think what you suggested is a good way forward, but I would just put an add-on to that, and that add-on is watch Twitch on Friday the 22nd. And then watch the streams and consider come to my stream. You'll be able to start from scratch. Yeah, I'll be obviously starting from the very beginning, and then take a pick whether you like the game or not. If you do, you can purchase it. If not, you don't. It is an expensive game. Let's face the facts. The top tier edition, the Legion of Dawn edition, costs £80, and the base game is £60, which is a bit more expensive than some other games. So I think everyone needs to be clear in their mind, this is the game they want to have, and also this is the game which they want to be playing for many months and years ahead, because it's massive. You know, if you like doing those games which are 10-hour gameplay, then that game's not going to be for you. If you like games which are like 300-hour gameplay or 1,000-hour gameplay, then that's game going to be definitely right for you. L0 says, what's your favorite Javelin? L0 says, mine is Receptor. You know, it's hard to tell because I obviously have access to all 4 Javelins, but because of that rubber banding and lots of lag, I was literally lagging myself in terms of the gameplay, and also with my broadcast. I couldn't really progress as fast as I wanted. Therefore, I tried only 2 Javelin suits, and those 2 Javelin suits were Ranger and Storm. So I wouldn't say that either of those 2 are... I didn't have any preferential treatment. What I liked was the fact that each Javelin suit had inherent suit-specific abilities, and they're ideal for a cooperative team play where you work out on a strategy, because, you know, your Storm is not going to have the weapons that Ranger will have. The Ranger will not have weapons that your Colossus will have, and Interceptor will have that speed, and, you know, so it is just really literally the combination of several of those things at once. So I personally didn't have a preference. I quite liked the Storm's abilities to use subclass. You know, I was freezing the enemies, and then one of the teammates was using the primary on them. As they froze, they were very vulnerable, and if they were being hit by machine gun or, you know, very powerful primary, they just cracked and basically they were killed straight away. So the combination of the strategies, me using subclass and the other guy, the Ranger, using the, you know, ability to shoot precisely at the enemy, then worked perfectly. I think there are some enemies displaying rather formidable speed, and then if you are attacking such enemy, it's likely that you will have to trap them. So you can put your Colossus somewhere at the back and provide enough, you know, maybe even 2 Colossuses in a team, and Interceptor and Storm could be drawing this enemy, you know, towards the trap, and then literally you release any firepower which is at your disposal. The infinite weapon is obviously the one which 2 of those can be using, and I can tell you that if 2 Colossuses open up the infinite weapon at the same minute, the enemy is going to have literally a very, very nasty day out, and it will work. In fact, I posted some videos on my Twitter which include the use of infinite weapon and or the ultimate weapon, whatever it's called, and I really liked the use of it. And the weapon is also suit specific. So for instance, with the Ranger, I would have excessive firepower with grenades and rockets, and with Storm I'd have excessive subclass. And I think if you were to compare Anthem to Destiny, the first thought that came to my mind was that literally from the word go, from the onset, you will have to use your mind, and you have to plan a lot more and strategize on what you're likely to be using. And I think if you are strategizing and considering tactics literally from the beginning, you are going to be successfully completing the missions. You know, so there will be lots of different ways to which all the participants could enter the arena and play the game, and I think that's terrific, because at the end of the day, you know, we don't want to be just pulling the trigger. We want to be thinking, we want to be making sure that whatever happens out there is coming out of our joint effort as a team, and then providing us both with entertainment and a very enjoyable gaming experience. Coming back to my introduction, I did say that Fort Tarsis is basically our base, and this is a safe haven where you can do everything. It's going to be your game central hub, and you can customize your Javelin, acquire new missions, rest in your personal home base, interact with other guys, and also when you're walking around you are shifting from the third person to a first person. So it wasn't too positively received by some people. I got lots of messages about that, but I think it is likely that in due course BioWare will make it accessible either way, you know, a bit like with The Witcher or with Oblivion and Skyrim. You can literally then swing from first person, has the same. And the reason that they left it basically for us to be the first person once in Fort Tarsis is to give you a kind of a close proximity to your characters. When you walk to them and you start talking to them, they're looking at you, they're looking into your eyes. So it gives you this extra immersive quality. And I think if there's one thing that really stood out with Mass Effect 2, and that was kind of personalization of the way you were playing the game, and you actually felt for certain characters. You really didn't want them to go to certain battles, you didn't want them to die, you didn't want them to get hurt. You want the characters to kind of have a romance together, and that is likely to be very present in the game as well. Although they stated no romance amongst characters, it's going to be very warrior-like. So no matter what you do, it's unlikely you'll be able to pursue like any form of romance with anyone. At least right now at the beginning. But if the community says that this is necessary, then they'll throw in a DLC which will change it, So let's be hopeful. I quite like the romantic developments. They really help, although they can hamper those firefights, as you know. Alright, so let's have a look still a bit at this introduction. And we had some footage during the E3 of 2017 on how the suit worked, but at the same time we did have a lot of that, or a lot more of that, during the E3 2018, and certainly as we played the demo we really got more connected with all of those aspects of Javelin suit in practice. So in fact, when you look at it, in practice, 4 Tarsus feels a bit like Mass Effect's Normandy, where you can engage in conversations and learn more about your characters, and also your actions and choices in conversations will have major impact on what you are to be watching and what missions you are going to be given, which is expected. All of those Bioware games had that, and that's one of the signatures or the fingerprints of the development studio, and that's really appreciated. And you really feel that when you go through the demo, that when you talk to the characters, certain decisions taken will have a major impact on how the game is going to be unfolding before you. When it comes to comparison between Normandy, I wouldn't, strictly speaking, agree in full, because Normandy was much bigger and vaster and greater, and I felt that the aura of Fort Tarsus was significantly different. It felt closer to the characters whom you are like to be meeting, and it felt more sociable and communicative. And I think this was the idea behind it as well. In addition to Fort Tarsus, Bioware indicated they will create a social hub. So our social hub is going to be an area not based at Fort Tarsus, somewhere else. So I guess we'll have a special section on the map for us to access. And the social hub is going to be similar to the terrace in the tower, if you are one of the Destiny gamers. So when you come to the tower, you have this, terrace in there where people meet together, talk, produce various niceties, show off with their extra new kit, with the new weapons. Sometimes they kind of provide certain dance moves, do various things which are considered sociable, and indeed at the social hub in Anthem we are going to be able to do the same. I'm not sure how many players will be able to enter that arena. They were talking about 16 or 24 or so, but certainly that is going to be the area where you will meet your new friends, where you'll be able to make further contact, and indeed select people for your fire team and for various missions, sub-quests, and gameplay overall. So I really look forward to that. I'm really curious to see how they enhanced it, because there will be an opportunity for us to present a new kit, and you just bought something or you acquired something in the mission, you can show it off, and there'll be lots of different things which we are going to be able to do there in the social hub, and the focus is going to be the community. So all about connectivity, all about communication, all about sharing as well. And that means you'll be able to find perhaps people who are less experienced in gameplay, and you can bring them in and you can teach them. You can bring them in to be in your broadcasts. You can get introduced to certain masks or certain parts of your Javelin suit which you've not seen before, and the actual number of options then becomes infinite. So really you're not completely blocked from customizing your Javelin suit when you're out in the field. You will have access to a Strider, and a Strider is a forward operating base where you can tinker and rest in between expeditions. Well, I did not see Strider during the demo, and for all of you guys watching, can you tell me, did you see Strider? Did you spot Strider? Was Strider there? Could we use Strider during the demo gameplay? Because if we could, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that tomorrow. I've not seen Strider, I've not seen anything of that sort, and that is certainly something that I would like to see. I also was not able to access free play, which I really wanted to do from the beginning. For some reason, free play did not work on my system. I couldn't access it at all on any of those 3 days, and therefore I used one of my missions as free play. But the trouble there was I faced enemies who were weapon resistant, and equally in those sections of the game, I was also weapon resistant. So when the enemies were attacking me, they couldn't kill me, or vice versa. So it was very funny. But I was able to walk around, fly around, dive around, and find out for myself what the Anthem world was actually like. And I can just tell you there's one word that describes the best, and that's awesome. So let's see, we already heard that the first demo is gone, and that was given as VIP demo to everyone who pre-ordered. The second big demo testing starts tomorrow. And in fact, whilst we are talking about that, we are going to be looking at certain hours. So, no, I don't have this here at the moment. I'll come back to that in a minute. The open demo will start tomorrow, which is February the 1st. It will last until Sunday, February the 3rd. So just remember that. If you are quite interested and curious, come in tomorrow and join in, and then you'll have enough time during the next 3 days to really test it. The demo will end in full on Sunday night. In fact, the demo may well be made accessible at a later stage, but we are not going to be, well, at least at the moment we've heard that, at least this is what we know, we are not going to be able to access the demo after Sunday, right? So before Sunday, and the release date, which is on 22nd of February, in 3 weeks later, we are not going to be able to access it. The second thing which needs to be said, for everybody who was with us during the weekend, and for everybody who was doing leveling up, everyone who collected your kit and had some experience points, all of that, everything you collected, everything you built, is saved in full on your demo. So when you enter the arena tomorrow, all of the saves are going to be there. You're not starting from scratch, you're continuing with your advancement. So for my character, I think I reached level 12, and I'm hoping to obviously raise the level to 15, because that's the top level on the demo. And also I'm hoping that my free play is going to work, because that is what I will enjoy the best. So definitely looking forward to that. And coming back to the demo basically is going to be starting in the UK at 5 o'clock PM. Well, that's the official hour where all the servers are going to be switched on and they'll be all fully functional, up and running. It is possible that the servers will be open much earlier on the day. So if you are very eager to come in, definitely try testing your servers literally from 9 or 10 in the morning to find out whether you can get in. But as from 5 o'clock, 1700 hours, 5 o'clock PM in plain English, we are going to be able to access the servers, and everything should be fully functional and the game will be playable. So remember that if you're in the UK, 5 o'clock PM. If you're in Europe, 6 o'clock PM, an hour later. Well, as far as the time difference is concerned, it's exactly the same hour. East coast of US, it is midday. So it's run basically your noon, 12 PM, right? So you are to be able to access it. And if you are on the West Coast, then you are likely to be accessing it from 9 o'clock AM. So Eastern time is 12 PM and Pacific time is 9 AM. The UK time is 5 o'clock PM and Europe is 6 o'clock PM. So that's fairly straightforward. So I will actually end my introduction there. Well, we have actually a few more bits to say. So I was thinking, giving you a bit of a taster on the Javelin classes. And if you are interested, I mentioned earlier in my broadcast, you can go to Anthem YouTube channel and have a look at the developer documentary, which was released earlier this week. And the documentary is focused on customization of your Javelin suit, and it talks a lot about different types of Javelin suits, so you'll get a very good idea on Javelin suits and what you are going to be able to do in the game. So literally that's probably the best point I can give you if you're interested, but I'll just give you a brief description on the Javelin classes, because obviously the focus of this game is its Javelins, and they are these superpowered Iron Man-like suits that act as player classes. You have 4 types in total at launch, so you'll be able to choose right at the beginning whether you want to be Ranger, Colossus, Interceptor or Storm. Each one of the suits does have their own particular ability, weapons, ultimate attacks, as well as laundry list of strengths and weaknesses depending on your playstyle. And depending on your team, I would say as well, depending on how you really get your team together, because if you're doing as a crew, you will decide on a strategy and what types of suit you want to have personally yourself. You may equip 2 weapons to the loadout at any given time, and then can cycle out different sets between missions. So you can't use more than 2 weapons, remember that. So it's a bit more restrictive than some other games. It's also possible to switch Javelins between missions, so you will not need to be playing one Javelin suit literally for the whole game. If you want to be doing your Javelin, let's say mission 1, and you want to do Interceptor mission 3, you'll be able to switch on and off as you like. Luke Taylor's here. Hello Luke Taylor, how are you doing? Thank you very much for joining our broadcast. Thank you for participating in our feedback Q&A forum. Really great to have you here. And Luke Taylor says, I hope the infinite load screens are gone. Well sir, I can certainly tell you I feel exactly the same. I had an enormous number of problems related to the infinite load screens because I am a broadcaster, and as you know, anytime you were getting that infinite loading screen, you had to restart the game, and therefore me as a broadcaster, I had to be restarting the broadcast. So I probably would have done that 20 or 30 times, and that is very, very hard on my viewers' eyes and ears, you know. There's no way I could avoid it, because the only way to do it was basically to bail, re-enter the demo, and then you were given this option, do you want to enter this mission straight away? And then when you clicked on it, you were the way out. And even on the Bioware postings, they said this is what you need to do, just simply reload the game. But for broadcaster, that's not an option. It's just too bad, you know. So I'm certainly hoping that the infinite load screens are going to be gone for good. Atomic Supreme's here. Hello, how are you doing? Good to see you all. Thanks very much for coming. And Atomic Supreme says, hello everyone. Hello to you as well. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining our community, our new Anthem community, which is being built here on my channel. Thank you for coming to our feedback session. We are talking about Anthem. We are discussing everything about the game, really, from the very best to the very worst in terms of our experience, be it the gameplay or the technical issues. And we really had a lot of feedback, and certainly we haven't even started with our Q&A yet. So, you know, very, very encouraging. Right, so I was on my Javelin suits, right? And I'll give you a very, very brief summary. As said, if you enter your Javelin suit prior to a mission, you will be able to change to another Javelin suit for another mission. And I guess depends on a preference. I know for myself, I may prefer to play one Javelin suit throughout the entire game and then later change it. And you know, you have then 4 repeat gameplays, and you will really learn your Javelin suit in depth. But that may not be the case when I'm part of the team, because a team may want a Colossus or, you know, a Ranger Interceptor, depending on the mission that we are to be doing. Don't forget, in Anthem, we are going to have certain sections that are similar to the strikes and raids in Destiny. Obviously, they will have a very different name, but the difficulty level and the requirement for the team to come in will be there. So, you know, depending on that, we are going to be choosing our suit. But what's very important to remember is you are going to be able to change your suit as you go along through the game. Very important, because remember, when you're doing your Titan or we're doing your Warlock in Destiny, you are building everything on that character. And when you switch to another character, then, you know, you've got a different score. In this instance, all 4 suits are tied in to the same account, which means your score will be not just suit dependent, it will be dependent on the gamer. And that is going to be a challenge, and that's going to be providing us with a variety compared to other games of same, the same kind. So that's really pretty good, and I really look forward to that. I really, want to see also and compare with other games. We just want to have a variety. I think that's the bottom line. So the first suit which you are getting, and actually the game is set on default to be playing the Ranger suit first. So the Ranger Javelin is the one they can wear instantly. Is the Ranger, right? And the Ranger is the all-rounder exosuit that is most versatile of the bunch, appearing to be able to handle most combat situations effectively. Aside from heavy weaponry, this suit can equip nearly every weapon type under the sun. It balances both ranged and melee attacks, and it can switch between them in the thick of the battle with relative ease. This is the definite javelin for beginners. So don't forget, Ranger is quite well protected against incoming fire. It has the ability to aim precisely. The weaponry accessible is mighty. So when you're building the game and skill knowledge, right, this particular suit may well be the best one to start on. Then you have Colossus. So if your interest leans towards heavy weaponry, something that the Ranger isn't readily capable of, then the Colossus is the suit you'll want to spend time with. It is the brute of the game, possessing all manner of firepower, like for instance homing missile launchers, mortars, flamethrowers, and heavy cannons. All of those are very, very mighty against certain enemies. Not to mention, it can also topple enemies in its path with its massive chassis and shield. So shield is going to be very, very powerful with Colossus, which actually I could see was not very powerful in Storm. Storm was a lot more vulnerable. I think ideal gameplay will be to strategize, to use certain suits for certain types of activities, and if you do it in a team, and particularly if you're doing it with the same team, like a crew, then you can build your knowledge and skill on a particular suit and as a powerful fighting member. So unlike Interceptor, Colossus, as you'd expect, because Colossus is heavy and sturdy, is not very fast. But it does have jet propulsion, and that can help you to get out of harm's way if a particular firefight was to become very, very hot. So the third suit is called Interceptor, and we already heard from some of our members here that Interceptor is very fast, and one of our community members earlier said that Interceptor was his favorite suit. Artur Dobris here. Hello, how are you doing? Thank you for coming, and thank you for joining our community. Thank you for being part of this feedback session. And Art is asking, at what time did he start? Well, I started about an hour and a half ago, and this is an open session, so you've not missed out on anything. If you want to hear what I said, you can simply watch the broadcast after we conclude, but we are going to be having a lot of Q&A space in a moment once I finish the introduction. I'm going through the introduction, and after that I'm going to be providing you with some bits of news as well, which have freshly come to my desk today. Anthem related news from BioWare, and after that we'll open it for a full Q&A. So just bear with us a bit, still a few more bits to say here through the introduction. So we've heard that the Interceptor was the favorite javelin suit of some of our community members, and the Interceptor is the polar opposite of the Colossus in that it's all about agility and mobility, so very fast and very agile. It's incredibly proficient at melee attacks and abilities that can weaken enemies, so expect a lot of hit and run tactics when using this flashy and very acrobatic javelin. Like I said earlier, Interceptor will be very good in order to draw enemies to a particular ambush. So if you set up an ambush with your Rangers and Colossuses, let's say you have 2 Colossuses and 1 Ranger and 1 Interceptor, the Interceptor will be able to draw the enemy to that ambush point, and then the enemy can be hit with all weaponry that those suits will have. Being able to get in and get out fast, which obviously Interceptor can do, will be obviously of essence. The last one of 4 is called Storm, and I tried his javelin suit on the weekend and I really loved it. I thought it was magnificent. The only problem with it was that if I wasn't fast enough in getting away from the enemy, then I could get killed rather quickly, because as Storm I'm very vulnerable to incoming fire. The Storm bears similarity to Destiny's Warlock in that it appears to be Anthem's mage class, meaning lots of special powers. As you'd expect from its name, Storm makes use of lethal elemental attacks. Unlike other javelins, it can effortlessly float above ground for extended periods of time, so as to hail down a barrage of elemental damage. That was particularly useful because with Storm you will have an extra ability to fly. No? You'll be hovering about, floating very, very fast, as well as being able to fly, and that is something that your Ranger and Colossus will not be able to do. So therefore very, very useful for certain activities and particular missions. With such power at its fingertips, Storm will have little in the way of defensive capability, which very much makes this javelin best suited for advanced players. That means you'll have to be integrating your javelin, your Storm, with the tactics that the rest of the team is deploying, as it will be a lot more vulnerable. But as I said, I entered a team which was quite strategic, literally from the word go, and I was using my special abilities, my mage classes if you wanted, and I was freezing the enemies down, and immediately Colossus stepped in and another Ranger, hitting those enemies with heavy weapons, and the enemies were instantly destroyed, because obviously when they freeze they're more vulnerable, and the freezing can be applied to vehicles, to fixed weaponry like turrets and machine guns, as well as the mobile and flying enemies. So very, very useful and very powerful. I was able to aim from very wide distance, and the freezing procedure was absolutely in place. So really, really good extra class. So we've gone through Storm, Interceptor, Colossus and Ranger, and these are our 4 javelin suits, and basically these are the abilities that each suit will be having. As said, the game will be best played as a multiplayer when you strategize and when you have 4 people together. Probably the best played with a steady and permanent team of 4. So if you have your friends and your gamers on other platforms, then bring them in, tell them about Anthem, ask them to buy the game, and then start running those campaigns as a team of 4 from the word go. The other bit of news which was mentioned during the IGN world launch of that demo, that was a week ago on Thursday, last Thursday. The lead producer Sila Costa confirmed that Anthem is going to be a cross-platform game. I want to stress that again. Anthem is going to be a cross-platform game. So that means not maybe on its release date, but certainly within the first 6 weeks, we are going to be able to enter cross-platform gaming. And that will be of essence for everyone in this community, because regardless of whether you are on your PC, Xbox or PlayStation, you are going to be able to come in similar to Fortnite and then fully engage. So anybody coming to my broadcast will be able to request participation, and then we'll be able to do it together. That is very different with some of the other games, Destiny in particular, where people from Xbox and PC could not come in, as I was obviously currently on PlayStation 4, and vice versa. So I really applaud BioWare for doing that, and that's very, very important for everyone to know. So if you are wondering how you are going to be building a community, it'll be a lot easier than with many other online games, because this game is going to be a fully cross-platform game. Confirmed by BioWare lead producer, confirmed during their IGN live broadcast. So this is literally the correct information. If you heard anything otherwise through various other forums, just simply ignore. This is the truth, and this is the way it is going to be with Anthem. I'm not sure whether you are a person who is in favor of cross-platform play. I know that for FPS games, people are very much against that, because if you are playing PUBG, for instance, and you have cross-platform play, then indeed somebody on keyboard and on the PC will have some advantage over the person on their tablet. But Anthem is not solely focused on shooting abilities. It will have puzzles and RPG and various other elements of the story. Fighting is going to be one of the elements of the game, and therefore it will not play a major interference when it comes to cross-platform gaming. in my view, what I've seen so far, I'd say Anthem is ideal for that type of cross-platform gaming altogether. So there were some questions coming in earlier on my emails regarding matchmaking, because people were, well, first of all, having difficulty in getting into the matchmaking during last weekend. Frequently they'd be dropped in as a single player when they were asking to play the multiplayer, and vice versa. It happened to me quite a few times. When I went to play multiplayer, I was being dropped in as a single player, and then I wanted to be in a team, and when I went to play a single player, I was being dropped in with the multiplayer. So we didn't have the best possible experience on a technical front during the last weekend. But what will happen in the future is that before heading out into the world with your Javelin, you will have the option to matchmake with up to 3 other guys, and at any given point in time you are going to be able to choose to either invite friends, fellow guild members, or other like-minded players. So you needn't worry about player levels amongst the group, as you can join up with anyone without consequence to experience the gameplay and obviously your loot earnings. Also, it will be possible to jump out into the world on your own without assembling a squad. But I want to stress that, again, this is a fully customized multiplayer game, and you will need your internet connection for it. If you do not have your internet connection at home, then this is not going to be a game for you. You will then purchase the game and it will not work. So it doesn't matter if you're doing your single player missions, you still have to have access to the internet. So it's literally very important for everyone to learn that very early, because otherwise your investment is going to be in vain. So even regardless of how you choose to proceed, you will be prompted to pick either an objective or the map to accomplish, or choose free play mode, but you can see some of that during the demo testing. But I was unhappy that literally throughout the entire weekend I could not access free play mode, and that was troubling me, because I really like open world games where I can just walk around without any form of time pressure on a mission and then explore everything which is out there. In Anthem, we are going to be meeting various characters in the free play. So these characters will be altering the course of the story, and they'll be providing us with some sub-quests and perhaps some loot and kit. So it isn't going to be just literally walking endlessly and looking at the environment. It is going to be also full of characters and creatures, which are to be encountered, and then we'll get some additional content. So remember that when doing it, and I really look forward to that during the weekend. It annoyed me because if I was doing a cooperative team play, with the other 3 guys on last weekend, obviously at any time when I was lagging behind and they were coming to the area where there were major firefights, I couldn't be just wandering off. The game was bringing me into this arena, and therefore I was not able to explore the open world as much as I wanted. But it was sorted out. It's not a big deal, and people shouldn't really dwell on this. So I have another question, and the question was about the loot. Well, I collected a lot of loot during last weekend, but none of it could be used, because obviously it was going to be enabled during the full game. So although you are collecting, you are not able to customize or use some of that during the demo, but you get the idea of how it all works. Also, there's a section called the Vault, which is very near to the arena which we're actually watching right now on our screen, near to the area where all the Javelin suits are on display. And this area is also manned by one character, and I think in the Vault we are likely to be able to exchange weapons or buy them and sell them or something. So similar to what we have with Gunsmith in Destiny. It looked and felt very similar, but how it is going to work, I'm not exactly sure. So coming back to the loot, similar to all the other games, Destiny in particular, Anthem does feature a loot system. So the quality of loot you receive is determined by your current pilot level. So even if you're paired with some high level guys, you'll be obtaining loot that corresponds to your pilot level. Some loot is drop specific from certain enemies, while others are earned by completing certain quest lines. It's worth noting that loot is instanced and therefore cannot be stolen by other gamers. So listen to this. So this is very, very important. When you are doing certain missions, which is what I've done also on last weekend, at the successful completion, not maybe of the entire mission, a subsection of the mission, you are given certain rewards, and these rewards cannot be stolen from you by other guys. Everybody is going to get the loot when you get to a particular box or the section where the loot is indicated. So that is very good. Your reward is going to be there for you. I'm not sure whether the reward is going to be exactly the same for everyone. I think the reward for more advanced players in the arena, let's say they're in a fire team, will be different to what I'm getting. So in fact, even if I want to steal the stuff off them, I couldn't. And the rewards are going to be there at all times. If you are playing on a harder difficulty level, the loot is going to be of greater quality and greater significance for the entire gameplay. So remember that. I personally would not advise you to start playing the game if you're in your first gameplay on the hard or the hardest difficulty level, because that will prevent you from some of the enjoyment. It's the best to build. You start with easy, go to medium, then to harder, then to hardest. But remember this. Firstly, the difficulty level will determine what type of loot you are to be getting. So that's number one. Number two, all the loot given to you throughout those missions, and I've noticed that we are getting some loot not at the end of the entire quest, but you have like different chapters, if you want it, within a quest, and you're getting some of the rewards several times. So every single time that this reward pops up, you are going to be able to collect it. It doesn't really get stolen by others, or it does not disappear before you get there. It's possible to disappear if you're very far away from it, but I've not had this experience. I was able to collect everything there in good time, and that was pretty good. So loot is divided into 6 categories denoting its rarity. So the names of the loot tier list are as follows. You have common loot, uncommon loot, rare, epic, legendary, and masterwork loot. So each one of those will obviously provide you with greater powers and different abilities. I think if you're interested, there is a video on Anthem YouTube channel which is giving you a bit more information on how you can really use your loot. So if you're interested, just head to the channel and have a look. But at the same time, I think exploring it during the gameplay is probably the best way of experiencing it. I personally much prefer it that way. There have been some questions on microtransactions, and I have to say there were some negative postings early in the week on this, but BioWare quite clearly spelled out the fact that microtransactions are definitely going to be in the game. So people are going to be able to buy certain items either with the currency or the loot which they collect, or through the use of their own money. And those items are going to be at all times purely cosmetic. So for anyone who have concerns that Electronic Arts are going to spoil the game by introducing the loot which is going to have some effect on the storyline and the gameplay, that is not happening. Right, so get it straight. BioWare have confirmed you are going to be able to buy various items for the game, but none of those will have any effect on the gameplay. None at all. The only effect is going to be purely cosmetic, meaning you will look nicer, and you will have something that other people do not have, like a mask, like a shader, whatever is out there. As you've seen, those Javelin suits are very meticulously designed. They have lots of different parts, and I think this is probably the area where the developer and the publisher are going to be able to raise a significant revenue. But that's left to every single gamer. It's open. It's basically left to our devices and our choices. We can basically decide to purchase something or simply forget about it. We can perhaps get some of the items if we were working very hard throughout the game, and then we can use some in-game currency. We'll have to see. I've played lots of games where this was present, and I can say that in Neverwinter online, I really loved it. A lot of people were complaining that there are lots of different bits in there that are affecting the gameplay. That certainly was not my experience. Depends on the game. Anthem is not going to be one of those. Basically, you are going to be able to buy things if you wanted, but none of them are going to have any major effect on the game. The other big question that was coming my way as well was about the end game, right? So people wanted to know, well, how is BioWare going to be keeping you engaged once you hit the level cap of 30 and once you've beaten the story campaign? What else are you going to be able to do? Well, we did have some indication from Mr. Robertson that there is going to be some little bit of special, on Sunday afternoon / night. They are going to be providing us with some extra information, some extra content, and we are hoping that some of that will be connected to the endgame questions, because many of those questions were also going the BioWare way already since the weekend, and we are all going to be very interested to hear how is this beautiful, mysterious, wonderful, vast Anthem world going to be evolving and developing. At this moment in time, I have no answers to give you. I do not know. But certainly, the developer is likely to provide us with some information either at the end of this weekend or in the weeks prior to the actual launch. So these were all the bits of introduction, and I've gone to them I think for the third time this week, because lots of people were coming in with questions, as you would expect. Anthem is receiving a phenomenal amount of exposure, and the interest for the game is simply second to none. 9 million hours of gameplay in 3 days. My goodness, I mean, I'm not sure whether other games would have been able to beat that. Some of my community members probably could make sure that I would be corrected if I'm not certain. But certainly I'm expecting this weekend to be also breaking many records in terms of the game access, the interest on display, and the number of comments and views coming in. Probably one of the biggest games of this decade, and indeed, if it all works out, it will be one of the most remarkable video games ever produced. I do have some information which came to my desk today, and some of it came from BioWare, and they were just literally recapping on the technical issues. So for all of you who are experiencing the difficulties, I'll read out a few bits which were kind of elaborating on what already was said by Mr. Robertson, and then sharing a few thoughts on the weekend and how the Anthem VIP demo went. And basically they said that they have a lot of bug fixes in the works before the public demo kicks off this weekend. They also sought to remedy all the concerns about the final release, which will also include fixes which were not seen in either demo. Well, it has to be said that this demo is a separate entity, so don't expect to see all we viewed in the demo to be fully included in the game. In fact, they did say that the game is going to be completely different, and some of the sections in here are purely for the testing purpose. So in fact, what we had last weekend and what you are going to be having from tomorrow is a bit like beta testing. It doesn't really have a flavor of an ordinary demo, because you have a lot of gameplay. You are testing the story missions, you're testing the stronghold mission, you have free play, you're testing the customization. So you literally are testing a lot more than just getting a snippet of what the action is going to be like. And that's formidable. I really applaud BioWare for that. Very ambitious. They're giving us a lot more to what usually the developers provide. And I played recently Resident Evil 2 Remake demo, which is incredible and it's beautiful. And they had this idea that if you have it like a one-shot demo, you need to finish it within 30 minutes. If you don't, you cannot replay it. It's certainly an interesting marketing concept, because if you're really drawn to the game after doing it, you will want to buy it straight away and then play it on its day of release. I'm personally a bit frosty on such concepts. They are obviously sophisticated and thoughtfully conceived, but I prefer when I'm being provided a bit more rather than a bit less, and BioWare certainly have completed that in full. So if you're curious and if you're wondering and if you were not with us during the weekend, then absolutely join us from tomorrow and you'll be able to see it in full. So as you know, BioWare's Chad Robinson, who is the senior executive of the live operations, was providing us with lots of updates, and he said that the entitlement bugs, server performance updates, platform bugs for Javelin unlocks, client bugs, were either addressed over the weekend or they are being addressed before we commence tomorrow. So in theory, all of those have been already worked on. He also said that they are doing a lot more scale testing to prepare for the influx of many new gamers coming in on Friday, and they're also planning to especially focus on the frustrating infinite load problem. Well, they did say during the weekend that the infinite load problem was the biggest technical problem they faced, and I'd be surprised if that was completely eradicated for the next 3 days. I'm not sure what's causing it, but it's a problem present on all 3 platforms. It was persisting, probably to do with the volume of gameplay struggling with it. They deny that, and you know, both Anthem, the BioWare and Electronic Arts said that they had many enough servers in action that none of these problems were server related. I personally don't know, hard to tell. Lots of my community members were indicating otherwise. They said that this is definitely not true to fact. Well, remains to be seen. And also I think what is very important to kind of spell out is that this demo is a separate entity and it is basically facing its own technical problems. These technical problems may not be at all present once the game is released, because the game is a separate entity, and there may be other problems facing the gamers at the time when the game comes out, or there may be none. Remains to be seen. And you know, from any viewpoint, what we want to see is, first of all, to get some experience of the gameplay, which obviously this demo is providing, and then we want to be entering this wonderful, vast, incredible, mysterious world of Anthem on the 22nd of February, hoping that the glitches, if any, will be then also quickly resolved. So Mr. Robertson also said that the preparations for the full launch have been in the works for quite a while, and as a result the version of the game already has a long list of things that are already fixed, and those things are not present in the public demo. And that principally, I can tell you, is a selection of features as follows: weapons with 0% infusions, then changes to javelin unlocks, fixes to the disappearance of XP at the end of missions, stability and performance issues, and quite a few more. And basically they are promising to work on every single issue as it arises, be it either for this weekend or for the game launch on the 22nd of February. And he also said in his posting that it was very rocky at the beginning on Friday, but by Saturday night things have stabilized. I didn't really fully agree with him. The rocky part continued until Sunday night for us in the UK. Our service over here, we're experiencing the infinite loading screen literally throughout. We had rubber banding, which was preventing us from, you know, successful advance really in various missions. And we also had game crashes. And the game crashes, in fact, were perhaps appearing more frequently towards the end of Sunday, as the rubber banding and infinite loading screen seemed to have disappeared. So there were technical problems right to the end. And for myself, I really began to enjoy firefights and gameplay. And then, you know, right at the end, before you kill that Swarm Tyrant, you were getting booted out. The game crashed, and so you didn't collect any XPs, you didn't collect anything, and you didn't really manage to get the menu of your achievement. And on the menu, you also get the names of the people who were there in the arena with you. And this would have been particularly useful because one team in particular I really liked, and we literally met on the spot and it worked perfectly, almost as we played the game like for many months. And I couldn't really pick up the names. Actually, that's not quite the truth. If I review my broadcast, I'm going to be able to get the names. So you see, I'm thinking aloud. But I was literally thinking about my perspective as a gamer who was not broadcasting. And if I wasn't broadcasting, then obviously the game crashes would have prevented me from accessing the names of these gamers. So if you were today following Anthem Twitter, and particularly if you were also following the Electronic Arts Twitter, then you would have seen their major announcement. And this major announcement had been met by massive hostility on the net. Do you know what the announcement is? Type here in the chat if you know what the announcement is. Do you know what's been published today, which had received a lot of flack from everyone who is in Anthem community? Does anyone know? Hands up now. Come on, shout it out. I want to hear. Because I'll tell you in a moment, but I want to see whether people know, whether you actually followed it, whether you read it. Come on. Anyone? What caused the major stir? What caused that major flack today? Does anyone know? Nobody knows. Well, I'll tell you. Good job you're watching the broadcast. You're getting, all the news hot off the press. It's basically their pre-order spreadsheet, right? So they published that on their Twitter and also on the Electronic Arts website. And so a lot of people said that, the game is coming out on 22nd of February, but other dates were being mentioned in the press. So when you log in and play the game, it all comes across as a bit confusing. So basically the intention was to make everything nice, helpful and clear. And they posted this spreadsheet. And spreadsheet is really very confusing because you have... just bear with me, I'll tell you in a moment. It indicates, basically, if you're on a certain platform, whether you are going to be able to access the game on a certain date. So the intention was certainly noble, and what they've done is you have this ways to play Anthem. You got beautiful graphics, the team of 4 to your left, and then you have the spreadsheet. It tells you demo access on February the 1st, right? So that's the February the 1st, tomorrow. Early access full game on February the 15th. Play first trial 10 hours on February the 15th. Full game on February the 22nd. And it's indicating who's going to be able to access what at a particular time on a particular day. And it's confusing because in here it says standard pre-order, which is PC, PS4, Xbox One, can access the demo on 1st of February with ease, right? Early access full game on February the 15th cannot be accessed. Play first trial 10 hours on February the 15th cannot be accessed. Full game on February 22nd can be accessed. So anyone who pre-ordered the standard, the base game, will be able to access the demo in full within the next 3 days, Friday to Sunday, and then no content, no access whatsoever until the 22nd of February. Everyone who ordered the special edition Legion of Dawn pre-order, meaning ordered it in advance, PC, PS4, Xbox One, demo access tomorrow, accessible in full. Early access on February 15th, not accessible. Play first trial 10 hours on February 15th, not accessible. Full game on February 22nd, fully accessible. So, to summarize, everyone who either bought the base game or the special edition is going to be able to access the demo for the next 3 days, and then the game on the 22nd of February. But actually, between tomorrow and the 22nd of February, you can't access anything. EA access, and that's separate. That's the access through the publisher, right? Xbox One, demo access tomorrow, of course, easily accessible. Early access full game on February 15th, not accessible. Play first trial for 10 hours on February the 15th in 2019 is accessible for everyone on EA access through Xbox One. So if you are an Xbox One EA access subscriber, you are going to be able to play 10 hours of the game on February the 15th. So have early access to the game, right? Full game, not at all. And then if you are a member of Origin Access Basic, which is on PC, demo access of course, everyone will be able to do that tomorrow. Early access on the 15th of February, not accessible. Play first trial 10 hours on February 15th, yes, it is accessible. Full game in February, not accessible. So what does this mean? That means that if you are on EA Origin, you are then going to be able to access the Play First trial, and that's 10 hours of gaming on the February the 15th. So 7 days in advance. right? 7 days prior to the actual game release on the 22nd of February. However, if you are one of the Origin Access Premier subscribers, which is the premium scheme that EA offer, then you will have demo access tomorrow with ease. You will have early access full game on February the 15th of 2019. So you will be able to access the game a week in advance on the 15th. No trial of 10 hours on the 15th of February. And the full game on February 22nd is going to be also accessible. So literally, if you are a hardcore Anthem fan already, if you love what you've seen, your best option to access the game early and have everything done is to subscribe to Origin Access Premier. So it's a premium scheme which you have to subscribe for, and then you are going to be able to basically play demo tomorrow. You have early access full game on February the 15th, and that's the only option for the early access of the full game, and then the full game obviously on February the 22nd. So once, just to summarize, if you are a subscriber to Origin Access Premier, once you start gaming on the 15th, you just carry on. You're not bothered anymore by the 22nd, so you are doing it week in advance, and I'm certain that we quite a few people doing the streams on the 15th, people who are subscribers to Origin Access Premier. So the actual chart is easy to digest, right? It's nice and clear. But the fact is, a lot of people have been very, very annoyed with that, because they are very concerned that this is almost like carrot and stick for these add-on subscription offers, which obviously would basically draw people to Origin Access Premier. And Origin Access Premier, I think it's $15 a month, and I think most people who are using streaming services are either subscribed to PlayStation Now or Game Pass on Microsoft's Xbox. So this is like the third one, the third add-on, and that's been very negatively received today. Yeah? So there's several other messages in there published where people have been expressing concerns that on one hand there has been a VIP demo test which failed on a technical level, and today we are getting a spreadsheet asking people to subscribe to the other streaming services. And, as you would expect, people had some concerns, and they actually are very similar to the concerns voiced regarding the microtransactions. We have several people coming in. Game Hut is here. Hello, how are you doing? Thank you for joining my broadcast. Thank you for participating in our Anthem feedback forum. Thank you for being a member of our community. And Game Hut's asking, are there rewards for VIP demo players? Well, there are. And the first reward, which was already given at the end of Sunday last week, was the unlocking of 4 Javelin suits. So for everyone who has been participating in the VIP demo testing, they are going to be able to access their 4 Javelin suits tomorrow with ease, and you'll be able to try them, ending that's the benefit or the reward given to everyone who tested the demo last weekend. I'm not certain, and that hasn't been confirmed by iOS yet, whether everybody else coming in tomorrow will have the same access. I personally think it may not be the case, because the open demo, in order to prevent game crashes and too many players on servers, may not be offering all the suits for people who come in on the open demo. It hasn't been confirmed as yet, but what we do know is, for all of us that we're testing the demo, we already have that unlock. The unlock is already there, so if you, for instance, played your Ranger, when you come in tomorrow, don your Storm or your Colossus or Interceptor, try another Javelin suit straight away, literally from the word go, so you can obviously experience the difference straight away. So that was the reward. The other reward is some skins, which they said they were unlocking, and that's in the area of Javelin suit customization, so that we are going to be able to access certain bits which otherwise maybe will be purchased through microtransactions or something like that. I'm not sure how many. He did mention it on Friday, but I'll have to go to my records to tell you exactly. If you're interested, obviously I can dig it up, but there is some customization bonus as well. So these are the 2 rewards which we received. I personally feel that is not sufficient, because we were suffering quite a bit with those tech problems, and I personally would have thought that maybe allowing us to be doing a taste of the game, like this 10 hours that they talked about on the spreadsheet, which are going to be given to some of the subscribers, that would be a good reward. And maybe they'll consider that. If people write to them saying that what's been offered as compensation is not good enough, they'll consider something else. So it's very important to voice your concerns, and I personally will voice this concern when I'm sending my feedback to the team leaders there, which is going to be comprising everything said in my feedback forums. And Sintrao is here. Hello Sintrao, how are you? Thanks very much for coming. Thanks for being part of our community. Thanks for watching the broadcast. The question is public demo out today? And the answer to that is no, it is not. The public demo is starting tomorrow at 5 o'clock UK time, and then you'll be able to engage with the demo and with all the niceties which we were describing today. So today you can download and you can have it preloaded, so there's no need to be waiting, because let's make no mistake, this demo is about 29 gigs in size if you are downloading it for a console. It is about 42 gigs in size if you're downloading it to your PC. So keep in mind, if you have not downloaded it yet, please do so immediately, because the download will take quite a bit of time. And let's say if you want to access the demo tomorrow, you'll cut into your game time quite significantly, because it may take several hours before you download it, particularly on the console. Your PC on fiber optic, it'll go down quicker, but still, the best to preload, that's the best. And Game Hunt is here asking about the times. I was looking at the times early on, and I will obviously tell you again. And I know that people come in and go here with my broadcast, and the idea is always to ask, always speak your mind out, always raise your hand, and come up with your questions and concerns. This is obviously what we all appreciate, the communication from within the community. So the questions coming in from Game Hut and a couple of other guys on Twitter are asking, when is the demo going to be accessible tomorrow, and is it just for some people, is it for everyone, or what is it? Well, I'll give you a description. The VIP demo was tested during the last weekend, and the VIP demo was basically offered to people who pre-ordered, meaning either the base game or the special edition, and those people who are members of the Origin Premier, that's the streaming service that the publisher offers. And so it was a limited number of people who were participating. This weekend is open for everyone, and you do not have to be a member of PlayStation Plus or Xbox Gold or anything like that. You can simply download and then crack on with the gameplay from tomorrow. The open demo is starting tomorrow and ending on Sunday, so it is not open for good, it's open just for the 3 days. And it'll start on February the 1st and it'll end on February the 3rd. The actual hours are as follows: 1700 hours UK time, in plain English 5 PM, 1800 hours European time, 6 PM, 12 PM noon Eastern time, East Coast US, and 9 o'clock AM Pacific time, West Coast US. Right? So coming back to the times, 5 PM UK time, 6 PM European time, 12 PM Eastern, and 9 AM West Coast Pacific. So that's when you are going to be able to access it. And may I just tell you, these are the times when the servers are going to be fully active and operating. It's possible that the service will start earlier, may not be fully functional. So if you're very eager, you can try out earlier. You can try it from 9 or 10 in the morning UK time. Otherwise, just wait for the actual service to be switched on, and then you are going to be able to access everything. So that's the idea, and I'm certainly very, very eager. I can't wait for the service to be switched on. I was doing the same thing last week, but as you know, the VIP demo was suffering tremendously under pressure, and we were not able to log in for quite a few hours. Once we did log in, we had a lot of success and we were able to engage the gameplay with ease. The only trouble there was the infinite loading screen and rubber banding, two problems which were obviously plaguing my broadcast and my gameplay experience. But we are hoping that this is not going to be present anymore tomorrow. We'll have to see though, fingers crossed, you know. And also, just to reiterate what I said earlier, the demo is a separate entity compared to the full game, and the problems on the Tekken front experience are unlikely to be similar. So if anyone purchased the game already, please bear with this fact in mind and be patient if on the launch date, which is on the 22nd, you're experiencing some tricky issues. This is happening to all games at the moment. The industry is rapidly advancing and expanding, and sometimes the developers are setting the targets which are a bit too high, and sometimes they do not have the manpower to deal, or in greater numbers, to deal with certain issues, and therefore we have to be a bit patient in order to make sure that everything works out in a few days or a week or so, and therefore the game is not going to be going away or getting spoiled or anything like that. I know everybody wants to do it straight away, with ease, but as you know, with the recent launches, that's not been the case. And the games that are of this magnitude, of this volume, with that many people coming in, are always likely to be having some glitches and troubles at the beginning. But then what is equally important is for every single person to be reporting those glitches to the developer. Send them emails, send them to the team leaders, Don't just send anonymous messages, send personalized email messages which are indicating what the problem is. You can also do that on Twitter. Twitter is a very, very good way of hooking up with the people in the know, and tag those issues so everybody else can read them and direct them to an appropriate source. GameHut is asking, will progress transfer from the VIP demo to open demo? Yes, it will. Everything we achieved last weekend is saved, and we will have it literally from the word go when we start with our gameplay tomorrow. So all the achievements, all the leveling up, all the kit, all the loot, all the experience points, everything we've done so far is going to be literally registered on our account, and we can start with ease immediately as we basically enter the game. So that is obviously the privilege we have as VIP demo testers. In fact, I've said it many times, for me the VIP demo testing was very much like a beta test. I've done lots of demos, and they usually are just a small fraction of the game, and then once you play the game, the demo is incorporated. In this instance, everything is different. Firstly, this is a major demo with 8 hours of gameplay, plus Stronghold, plus the free play, which is even not really verifiable in terms of any kind of time, and the entire experience was like beta testing a game. Lots of gameplay, story missions. Stronghold is a bit like a raid. You have free play, you have everything together, customization of the suits, you can talk to different characters. It's a massive big demo, and with a lot of different snippets of what is to come. And I personally would like to see all of that just being attached to that demo. I like it to be different from what we see in the game. Obviously, full tasks will have the same selection of characters, and it's going to be the same environment, but the actual activity of everything we've done may well be different. Maybe with that Matthias and the spell which is used on him, for him to be suddenly turned into a 3-piece rather than just one person, could be incorporated in the game. We'll have to see. I personally don't know, but they did state quite clearly that demo is a separate entity, and that some of the content will not be seen in the game. And that's obviously the major difference. And I think, from my point of view, it is a lot better to do it that way, because this actually makes people, more interested in demo testing. Because if people know that the demo is going to be replayed in the game, then maybe they will not try it, because a lot of people want to experience the game in full, and they do not want to have any spoilers. In fact, I did have several of my Destiny veterans coming in, I think yesterday before yesterday, and they said we've not done the VIP demo because we didn't want to see anything of the game before we really purchased it and tried it from the beginning. And I'm a bit like that as well. You know, if I wasn't doing broadcasts, I probably wouldn't do the the taster, because I'd be really wanting to see what the game is like literally from the word go. And I don't like spoilers either. It's a bit like, for anyone who loves films, you have so many pre-release reviews and things up there, in social networking and elsewhere, and they really kind of spoil your experience. You get like a preconceived conceptions of what might be happening, and you just want to go to your cinema and watch the film from the beginning and decide for yourself. Obviously, films which are highly ranked will have a lot of publicity, but you don't have to be watching clips and reading the reviews. Go in there by yourself and then decide. Sintro is here asking how to fix loading screen. First, close Anthem to open Warframe. Well, that was the resolution during the last weekend, and I would just like to say that maybe there will be another resolution tomorrow if this was to be recurring. Don't forget, they were working 24/7 now since last Friday on resolving these problems, and they'll certainly have some other options. I personally had voiced my concern about restarting and reloading the game, because for broadcasters this is a no. You have to be reloading the entire stream, and therefore you can have 20, 30, 50, 100 different streams beginning and ending within minutes, and it's not workable basically. And Game Hut says, yeah, the game felt really good except for loading screens. Well, can I just ask you guys, Sintro, Game Hut, let's see who else is there. Atomic Supreme, Luke Taylor, Elzero, Hyperactive Gaming, all of you guys. Did you have any other problems? Can people just write what technical problems they had? Because I would be, and also just write what problem you had and write the platform you were on. So just write, this is the problem, this is the platform. I know, infinite loading screens, PS4, rubber banding, PC. Do write those messages, please do, because this is a public broadcast that is being recorded, and the feedback will be given to the developer. They need to see and hear that people are engaging, and that people are trying to resolve these issues, and that people are not just harping on about this in order to defame the game before it came out, because everybody will have their concerns when it comes to certain technical issues, and they have to be presented in a civilized, polite and constructive manner. That's the idea. So if you can, and what platform you're obviously using in order to access the demo. We have another bit of news, and this bit of news is regarding the microtransactions. As you know, there have been lots of postings on various social networking forums, and I'll just tell you what came to my desk today. An image which was showing Anthem's microtransaction prices has surfaced on Reddit, and I've not seen it myself yet though. And many players are not happy with EA's decision to include $20 items in a $60 game. The image reveals multiple skins, fabric and metal materials and emotes. Did you guys see that? Did anyone else see this? Because really, $20 price on a skin or anything which is in there is very steep. Because obviously, the base game costs $60 and the special edition costs $80. So $20 for a single piece seems very, very steep. But obviously, it's purely cosmetic. Is this going to be necessary for anybody to have right from the beginning, Game Hut says infinite loading screen PS4 is the only problem I had. Game Hut, did you have rubber banding? Did you have that? You know what rubber banding is? It's like a serious lag where your character is going backwards and forwards when he can't actually move. Because I'm on PS4 and we had this through the UK service. We had a serious problem with that. Did anyone else have rubber banding or just myself? because if that's the case, I need to work out as to why what's happening to us in the UK. Game Hut didn't have any rubber banding. I don't know what was causing it though. I really asked, and they did identify rubber banding during the weekend as one of the major problems. EA did state it as a major problem together with game crashes, with login problems, and with the infinite loading screens. It was one of the four, the top four. But it might have been just PS4 specific, I don't really know how to tell. Anyway, coming back to the microtransactions, so EA's microtransactions policy has once again started a multitude of angry comments on social media after that image showing cosmetics prices surfaced on Reddit. I don't know whether they got it from, but I didn't see it. And the image was shared by one member, and it was showing 2 armor packs priced at 40,000 coin and 2,000 shards. Shards are Anthem's premium currency, which means they can be bought with real money. 100 shards will cost you $1, which means that Anthem's Javelin skins come at roughly $20. So many players pointed out that these prices would be fine if Anthem was a free-to-play game like Epic's Fortnite, but given that Anthem is priced $60, they find the cosmetics pricing absurdly high. So the image also reveals Gummo Shoe emote, which is priced approximately $12, while rare textures for Javelin armor cost roughly $8. The thread hit the top spot on the Anthem subreddit front page really quickly, and it counts more than 1,400 comments, which is probably why BioWare senior system designer Chris Schmidt did comment on this. And he said that BioWare are basically considering their economy design and balance almost daily, and the prices shown in the picture do not represent the final pricing. So it's just literally a slide which was used for promotional purposes, or to give an idea of what this is going to be like at a later stage. So really, this is very important to digest. Very important to digest. The official response from BioWare, right? So that's the senior system designer Chris Schmidt. He says that the prices are not accurate. This was just a promo screen, which probably was stolen. Well, he didn't say that, I'm saying that. He also explained that these daily changes are one of the reasons why BioWare and EA are yet to discuss cosmetic prices. So basically they did not even consider what prices there are going to be. He said it's one of those things that's sure to change frequently right up until the day you play the game. While Schmidt's comment offered a tiny bit of hope that these prices will not make the final cut, players worldwide were still unconvinced and offered their own pricing plans. So many gamers agreed that the optimal price for a Javelin armor pack would be $3, emotes would be acceptable at $2, while rare textures price shouldn't be higher than $1. So basically we are talking about the prices between maybe 10 cents and $5 on average, right? And I think that would be reasonable, in any shape or form. So principally BioWare also previously confirmed that everything in Anthem will be unlockable through progression, and that items won't be locked exclusively behind the shards currency. But then another question came up, and I guess that's something that is similar to the questions the Destiny community gamers were raising, and that is, well, how long will the players have to grind for these items? Will you have to be doing this literally for a long while? And I guess we are going to find out. So these were all the bits of news which had come to my desk, and I can see that we have several responses to the microtransaction bit of news. And let's see, Little Lack is here. Hello Little Lack, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being obviously a member of our community, watching the feedback session. And Little Lab is asking, is there going to be a demo to be playable on February the 1st? There is going to be a demo playable on February the 1st. The demo is open to literally everyone, and if you are one of the gamers who downloaded the demo, then just be ready for the times which are stated earlier, and you are going to be able to engage and play the demo as much as you like until Sunday night. It starts tomorrow, it ends on Sunday night, and then there's no more demoing for now. Game 3 Hut says $20 for skin, that's like a whole DLC. That is obviously too expensive. I agree with that. The prices, but the prices there were derived from assumptions, and somebody had access to that slide, and that slide was not the final version of BioWare. It was literally just for their own internal use, and obviously somebody leaked it. And considering how much the gamers worldwide dislike Electronic Arts policies overall, then this was just literally your tip of the iceberg. They just waited for that sort of image to come in, and you know, that basically caused all the issues. And I agree, $20 for just skins is completely extortionate. The prices for those skins and cosmetic bits should be similar to what you have on Twitch when people are using bits and cheers. They seemed reasonable. A couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there. If you have a lot of followers, many people use it, and the revenue, you know, literally builds up. So one should be looking at the quantity of users rather than the extortionate value of a single piece, because the future of this industry is purely on the number of gamers coming in, as we know. And GameHut says, well, in my opinion, this is a little too overpriced. Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. You know, one has to consider the number of people coming in, and if you have 9 million hours played, 9 million hours for one demo over the weekend, just think about it, 9 million hours. So there's probably about 5 million gamers in there, just for the demo, just for the VIP demo, I should stress as well. So if every one of those guys bought, you know, one item worth $1, that'd be already $5 million just made on the purchase of skins. And GameHut is just feeding back the information to Little Lack. Demo starts tomorrow, same time for last week. And Sintra is asking, $20 for in-game armor? Some indie games cost less. Well, it's absolutely right. If you go to Steam, you will be able to get lots of indie games for a few dollars. And, you know, for anybody who's a serious PC gamer, that's, you know, more than sufficient. And I actually do have lots of games on my Steam on several accounts, which were bought for, you know, just a couple of dollars, and many of those are indie games. You know, in terms of the monetary cost and the elements, the trouble there is, if you consider a massive game like Anthem or Red Dead Redemption 2 or, you know, any of those very Destiny, the time spent on a game is phenomenal. You're really talking 5 years plus minimum, and the revenue spent on the production is sensational. In addition to that, the marketing budgets accompanying those games are also, you know, absolutely through the roof. So some of the companies have concerns about the way the market works. I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar, but the markets, the financial markets, they're based on rumor and fact, right? So I'll just, in a couple of sentences, tell you what this means. Rumor and fact. The markets generally move upwards, meaning the prices rise in terms of the value of the investment, on either the confirmation of rumor or the confirmation of fact. So it depends whether the fact is relevant and whether it's been well known, and whether the rumor is indeed going to be applicable and whether it's based on the truth. So, you know, the trouble there is that if you have a rumor, and the rumor could be created through social media or, you know, various networking forums and that the game is going to flop, that there's a serious problem which is going to be affecting it, and that does happen sometimes, then the companies will be very worried. They will try to come up with some other ideas in order to raise the revenue initially to beef up the sales. And one has to be very careful, you know, on how this is really construed, because what we want is an enjoyable game from the word go, and everything else is secondary. So if we love it and we are playing it for 4 to 6 weeks, and then we want to contribute more, you know, down to us really. But if you are having a game which is not going to be functioning, trying to make some revenue even before the problems were resolved, this is going to cause serious problems. And unfortunately, there have been some games out recently that was suffering that kind of fate. I have to say, I mean, I love Bethesda, and, you know, played the games for many, many years, and they're obviously very remarkable. But considering, I mean, I'll tell you what some of my community members did state in my forums. Several community members of mine had purchased the top edition, which I think was costing $80 or $90, and they were expecting to receive certain kinds of items with that special edition, one of which was a canvas bag that was very much in sync with the Fallout environment. Canvas bag, excellent for surviving out in the wild and all of that. They received a PVC bag instead, which obviously was nowhere near in quality, and it was like literally to what was described in the pre-order package. Topping that were many technical problems accompanying the game on its release date, and there were lots of technical problems which affected gameplay and access and you name it. So Bethesda were going to be, providing some degree of remedy, but the initial response was very off-putting for all the buyers, because obviously they had relevant concerns that they received a product which was not as described, which obviously is litigious. And the initial response was something like, well, we had to really alter the course of action because there were too many. I'm not sure exactly what the formulation was, but it just seemed to be self-justifying that there's very little that one can do. And then obviously that caused a very major upheaval from everyone. And then within no time, the senior executives responded and they said that indeed this is going to be remedied immediately. The canvas bag was sent out. And what I'm trying to say is that had affected the game sale, and that affected the overall perception of the studio, as well as the game, which was obviously eagerly anticipated for quite some time, being a part of the Fallout the franchise, or the installments. So what happened, I think it was even 2 weeks later, the top edition was offered on 50% discount, and every one of my community members who purchased the original top tier edition were absolutely out of their mind, because they said, who on earth would expect the special edition to be offered on 50% discount 2 weeks after the game's release? So, in terms of trading, this was very dubious, but on the other hand, I can understand that they wanted to really generate some revenue, because with so many complaints and so many problems with the game launch, on the release date and surrounding it, they had obviously problems with sales, and people cancelled orders. Lots of people didn't buy the game because they've seen obviously on YouTube and elsewhere what the problems were. So that altogether was literally a very, very unsavory course of action. So coming back to our discussion about microtransactions, you could see as to why some developers will be thinking, maybe this is a way to which we can really minimize a certain degree of liability. Not everybody will be buying these, but if we have like fewer sales of if we have like a number of sales of skins and items available on microtransactions, this will be providing us with some degree of cash flow in case something backfires. So if you look at it, it is absolutely non-development related. It's all focused on the monetary side and the projections, to do with sales and how the game is likely to do within the first weekend. Gaming industry has gone down the route which is familiar to all of you through Hollywood studios. They all talk about the first and second weekend. They very rarely do you hear anything on Box Office Mojo about how the certain film is doing after about 3 or 4 weeks in cinemas. In fact, after about 3 or 4 weeks, the vast majority of films are no longer in cinemas. And this industry is taking the same kind of route. Sintra is here and says $20 for in-game armor. Some games cost less, and Sintra says this game will be discounted 50% a month after release. Well, we don't know that, This depends on the reception of the game. If the game is literally, bombing out within the first weekend, then there will be discounts and there will be offers. But I personally wouldn't foresee that. I would foresee a successful launch, and I would see particularly the sheer number of BioWare dedicated followers and gamers. You know, they include people who were on Dragon Age and on Mass Effect and all the other games in the past, Baldur's Gate, and, you know, Neverwinter, I think, as well. And that is, let me just double check actually. I would like to provide you with the wrong information, but yes, indeed, I was not wrong. That also is a BioWare game as well, and I absolutely love it. The first one of the best RPGs that I ever engaged with after Mass Effect. So coming back to your point that Anthem will be offered on 50% discount a month after its release, I'm not certain, but on the other hand, if you asked me prior to the Fallout 76 release that Bethesda will be offering the top tier edition, on 50% discount, I think like 10 days after its release or 2 weeks after its release. It was very, very short. Don't quote me on the days, but it was very close to the actual release date. I would say, well, definitely not, impossible. But the actual reality of the situation changed the rules of the game, and that's basically what made the discounts possible. And I actually regret that I had not bought the Fallout 76 when it was offered on the fraction of the price. But it wasn't offered for long, it was for maybe a few days. But also, you see, the trouble the developer had was the backlash coming from everyone who pre-ordered, because the vast majority of people who are Fallout fans, they pre-ordered Fallout 76, be it the base game or the special edition. And initially they had the backlash because they received the PVC rather than canvas back. Then they received backlash on the technical issues, and after that, to top it all off, the concerns and the problems were with the game being discounted. So what did we pay $80 for, was the question. But in fact, we could have waited for 2 weeks and we would have had it on half price. So, that's the trouble. We call it the dynamic markets or the dynamic economy, and there's nothing we can do about it. It is really quite difficult for people who are, running the industry and people producing the blockbuster games, because there's so much information out there, and it's very easy for public opinion to sway either way. It doesn't happen in politics, but does happen, in economy and in all these issues which are consumer-based, because people are spending a lot more time reading consumer reviews and providing feedback on certain kinds of products and activities to what they do regarding politics. And I guess you may decide whether this is the best course of action, but that's just the way it is. We have Game Hut saying, thank you so much for your information, you're very informative, and I just followed you. Well, thank you so much, sir, for following the channel, and first and foremost, thank you for being here for our Anthem feedback broadcast. Very grateful for your comments and views and contributions, as well as obviously grateful to everyone else who came in. And I hope you will be joining us for our regular Anthem broadcasts once the game comes out, so that will be on the 22nd of February. And I really look forward to having our community there from the day one, really, because as I want to be having the founder member banner, and as I've been able to participate in the VIP demo testing, we are going to have a wonderful journey ahead of us. Many of my Destiny veteran friends always tell me how they were there with Destiny from the day one when the game was beta tested, and in this instance I'll be there too. I've not beta tested in December, which was for a limited number of people doing it, but I think everyone who was with the game from VIP demo testing will be considered to be obviously one of those founder members, and the banner will be representing it, so pretty good. Fox UA is here, 91. Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for coming. Thank you for obviously watching our broadcast. Thank you for being a member of our community. And Fox UA is asking, when will it start? Well, the demo is going to be accessible tomorrow, and if you were not with us during the last weekend as a VIP demo tester, you are going to be able to access it in an open demo forum, which starts tomorrow, and the demo will be accessible from Friday to Sunday, and I'll give you exactly the times. The times are directed at FoxUA91, who's been asking about the times. The demo will start on Friday, February the 1st, and will end on Sunday, February the 3rd. And the open demo start times are as follows: 5 o'clock PM in the UK, 6 o'clock PM in Europe, 12 o'clock noon, 12 o'clock PM Eastern Coast, Eastern Time, and 9 AM West Coast, and that's Pacific Time. I'll repeat: 5 o'clock PM UK time, 6 o'clock PM Central European Time, 12 PM noon Eastern Time, 9 AM Pacific Time. So these are the times. And I would advise you to preload the demo. So if you are on your console or if you are on your PC, download it straight away, and then it will not cut into your game time tomorrow, because the download is massive: 29 gigs for console, 42 gigs for PC, and it will take a little while to sort of get it down on your disk. So if you are considering it, then download straight away, and then obviously take a pic tomorrow or over the weekend. Sintrao says if it costs $20, it's no longer a microtransaction. I agree. $20 for a transaction is a major transaction. It should be called macro transaction rather than micro, right? It's massive, because for $20 in our local CX you can buy 20 Xbox 360 games. You know, Xbox 360 games are selling now for about £1, and makes a big difference, right? Why would I want to be purchasing a transaction for my skins costing $20 when I can actually buy 20 games for that amount of money? PS3 and Xbox 360 games in the UK now through CX are very, very cheap. They cost anything from 50 pence to about £2, and you can literally stock up on the entire collection. You can have literally everything. And Sintrao says a single skin makes up 33% of the entire price. Logical. It does. It also presents 25% of the special edition price, and that is really unsavory. But I would like to say that Reddit postings are also sometimes very rife with some sort of competitors' views, you know? And as you could see from the official response that came directly from one of the executives, and this executive is the senior system designer Chris Schmidt. He represents BioWare. He clearly stated that these are not the prices that BioWare are considering. So where they got the slide from, and you know, God knows. But unfortunately, because there is so much negativity linked to Electronic Arts and some of the other games, I think people had embraced the rumor instantly, and I wish to stress that this was a rumor. This is not a fact, you know? We all don't want to be paying too much for our games and in-game loot or, you know, anything that is offered. But we also have to be reasonable, and we do have to rely on the facts when they get presented before us. And what I've seen is basically yet another online campaign to be affecting the game release, and I think that is inherently wrong. Had this slide you know, come from the company, and had it been confirmed by the company executives, with them would say, well, this is obviously the fact, this is going to cost this much, and therefore we are very unhappy. But you see what I mean? I can't be unhappy when I can hear from the lead designer that what's been said in public forums is not true. You know, if they haven't considered, it's a bit like when you talked about Anthem, one could speculate on the possible price of the game, and before the actual price was confirmed, we couldn't take our position on it. Citra says a single skin makes up 33% of the whole price. Well, you know, I'll just wait to see what the official response is going to be. That is going to be my, you know, my position principally. Well, I mean, thank you very much, guys, for following the channel. I can see that there have been quite a few follows and quite a few transactions coming in whilst we were talking on air. I'm very grateful for everyone's support, participation and interest. It's wonderful. And we have, I'll tell you, bear with me a second. We have CDR69, our new follower on Twitch. We have L01, a new follower on Twitch. Game3 Hut, new follower on Twitch. FoxUA91, new follower on Twitch. Guys, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm very glad to see that you're enjoying our discussion here. It's an open forum. It's our Q&A and feedback on Anthem, one of the biggest games to come out of video game industry in this decade. Hotly anticipated and, you know, eagerly waited. Glad that you're liking the content, and I welcome you all to our new Anthem community. I welcome you all to my Twitch broadcasting channel. Glad to see you're liking the content, and if there's one thing about this channel, that is our community. We have a very, very busy and vibrant community of members. This channel so far has been pegged to Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, and the vast majority of our followers and contributors are Destiny hardcore fans and veterans. But we are going to be joining also the Anthem world to our community, and I'm very glad to see that everyone who loves sci-fi gaming and people who were doing Mass Effect and Destiny and The Division and many other games, inclusive of Elder Scrolls and, you know, the multiplayer games, I'm very, very glad to see that you guys are so interested, and we are going to have a lot of interesting content and discussions, because once the game starts, there will be puzzles, there will be you know, strategies, there will be tricky issues, and all of us will engage with those Q&As and we'll try to really resolve the issues. And I think, considering how great the response has been during this week, I'll run a usual regular Anthem Q&A session every day, and then we'll be able to kind of come in and talk about our progress and how far we got and how we are building our Javelin suits, how teams are, you know, progressing. We'll talk about strategies and tactics. We'll talk about everything, and that's awesome. Don't forget, online gaming is all about connectivity and communication, and what better way to connect and to communicate than through Anthem, a game that's been construed to be providing exactly that: high level, high quality community content, connectivity with everyone, and our ability to engage with 3 other gamers at any given time whenever doing the game, because we are doing it in a fire team of 4. Well, that is awesome. I love the idea, and I'm very grateful to BioWare for listening to all of our concerns, because the Mass Effect was released, and I really thought how beautiful this would have been if, on one hand, we could play as a single player, and then later, when replaying the game, we could have every character played by another gamer. And obviously this was not happening with Mass Effect 2, but with Anthem we have exactly that. In fact, we have not just 2 other guys, we have 3 other guys with 4 separate outfits, each one of them being called Javelin suit, and each one having various weapons and abilities attached. So, you know, really absolutely amazing. Sintrao is here and says, I feel like this game would be very hard to balance on PvP level. Well, we'll have to see whether they are to provide something like Crucible in Destiny. It may be that they'll come up with something. There is one section of the news which I did not reiterate today too much, and I'm just reminded of that myself now through one of the messages that I received. Everybody listen to this, and everybody kind of pay attention to this. if you were one of the VIP demo members last weekend, and if you are going to be playing it this weekend, make sure that you are online from halfway through the afternoon on Sunday, let's say from 2 o'clock onwards, because everybody from BioWare are going to be providing us with some extra content after that, and also we are going to be receiving some specific news which are the final product, i.e. the full game related. They will be revealing something that's not been said so far, and it's likely that that is going to be astonishing. So this may be to do with the multiplayer, this may be to do with PvP, this may be to do with the endgame, but certainly it is going to be tackling one of those areas which were raised by the community members. So watch this space and definitely keep your eyes and ears wide open on Sunday afternoon, because that new content and those bits of news are going to be coming your way. Maybe we'll get some rewards as well. I really would support and applaud really for any rewards, because what's been offered last weekend I felt was somewhat insufficient, considering that we had so many technical difficulties. I personally would prefer if all of us that were struggling and wrestling with the technical problems would be given a priority access to the game, so we could actually access the game a bit like the guys on Origin. But maybe this is too much to ask for, I don't know. I just thought that unlocking the suits and giving some skins was like providing us with a suite, but the troubles experienced were much greater than that, and therefore we should have been given a lot greater credibility and recognition. Sintra says Anthem is a very good game without PvP. Well, I think the concept of the game is non-PvP, right? So it's PvE, and you play a team that's fighting that deadly environment. On the other hand, it is possible that they will introduce PvP as a separate section in similar fashion to what you have in Destiny, because Destiny you can play either as PvE, which is the vast majority, or you can enter Crucible, which is the competitive. Down to choices. You can do it if you want, you don't have to if you're not particularly interested in the competitive gaming. And it has to be said that any form of competitive gaming is also bringing in very different community members, and the actual community then both feels and sounds significantly different. I'm personally not that keen on mixing the two, but if you leave them as options, then people can decide. I did have recently a number of younger guys coming in to my Destiny streams and saying, I don't really know what you're doing here because we are primarily Crucible competitive gamers. Fair enough, but I just stress the fact that this channel was not dedicated to competitive gaming. This is not a competitive gaming channel. It's focused on the entertainment and the enjoyment aspect of gaming. It's focused on the connecting elements as well as the communications, focused on the community. Competitive gaming is something else, you know. So I think if that was to be brought in, it would simply have to be made optional rather than compulsory, and therefore you can do it if you want. If not, you can just carry on with your PvE. That certainly would be my viewpoint, but you know, I guess we're all different, we all have different preferences. I really like in particular the fact that so far Anthem demo is giving us the flavour of Mass Effect, and that's really quite personal and personalised, because Mass Effect is my favourite video game of all times. It was the first, perhaps the only game I really felt completely in sync with those characters. I really felt for them. I shouted when they were entering arena, you know, but the danger was posed, and I cried when they were about to be killed. So I had the best possible emotional immersion with my characters, and I hope that Anthem is going to be providing us with exactly that. So we'll have to see. And I think they had tweaked the section of the RPG which I personally think is going to be making it more possible, faster feel for the characters, and that is your first-person view. When you roam, when you walk and explore your four tasks, you come much closer to the character and you have a feeling that you're talking to a real person. And that's very good. Dress MDK is here. Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for coming. Thank you for your attention, for coming to my broadcast, for being here, for being a new member of our Anthem community. Welcome. Dress XDK is saying, any gameplay today? Well, we would like to play the game today, but we cannot. And the reason is simple. Anthem is a Anthem is a multiplayer which has to be using BioWare servers, and because the servers are not accessible today, we can't play the game. There's nothing better than doing it, and there's nothing else that we would love doing more, but we cannot. We are going to be able to do that tomorrow from 1700 hours UK time, 1800 hours European time. So that is 6 PM British, and I said it wrongly, didn't I? 5 o'clock PM British, 6 o'clock PM European. And Dress Mix DK says, call me DK, and he says no problem, and he says thank you for the information. No worries, no worries. Thank you for coming and thank you for asking. The feedback forum on Anthem is open for questions and answers, and open literally to anyone coming in and asking anything which is Anthem related or video gaming industry related. In fact, it doesn't, two of those vast areas overlap, of course, and we all are eagerly anticipating that hour tomorrow when we are going to be engaging with our mysterious, wonderful, vast, unknown Anthem world yet again. Can I just ask DK whether you were testing it on the weekend as well? Were you doing the VIP demo? If not, I would definitely advise you to join us tomorrow. You'll have a lot of fun, provided we are not experiencing lots of technical issues. But technical issues are expected with betas and demos and the initial tests. It's better if they happen during the testing weeks than on the actual game launch date, so that always is preferred. So let's hear it. All of you have been either hoping to play Anthem or you were there during the last weekend. Tell us what you liked the best. What was your favorite? What was what you hated the most? What was that caused you a major headache? DK says, sadly no, but I certainly will do. Well, I can certainly tell you, if you are very keen on testing Anthem demo, the open demo starts tomorrow, as I said, 5 o'clock PM UK time, 6 o'clock PM the European time, and you can download the game straight away because it's massive. It's about 29 gigs for console, 42 gigs for PC, and it does take a little while to download, so it's always the best to be downloading in advance, and then once the hour comes you can just crack on, and I hope you will enjoy it. You haven't missed on anything because the demo is going to be exactly the same. The only difference was that we had the preview kind of first access compared to everyone else, and we all pre-ordered the game, or we had been subscribed to Origin's streaming service, which is provided by EA. Therefore we were accessing it first, or we were one of the friends invited by people who pre-ordered, because every pre-order person had the advantage of being able to bring in 3 other friends to do that, and that was being used very, very widely. Sintra is asking, I have a question for you. What is your favorite javelin? Well, I unfortunately was not able to try all 4 javelin suits. They were unlocked on Sunday, but because of the technical issues with rubber banding, my characters were progressing rather slowly in the missions, and I've tried Ranger and Storm. So Colossus and Interceptor I still have to try, and I will try them immediately tomorrow when I restart with the game. If you were to ask me to choose between the two, I really couldn't, because two of those are significantly different. Ranger is very accurate and precise with weaponry, and also does have some rockets and grenades which are very precise and devastating when attacking the enemy. Storm is fairly fast. Storm Javelin does have also some subclass abilities which are a bit like freezing the enemies, and an awesome ultimate weapon, infinite weapon, the one which you can use as well, and also can sort of fly in a different fashion, can hover just above the ground, it can be floating, and so very, very useful. But Storm is very vulnerable to incoming, as Storm is probably best integrated within the team. So hard to tell. I still have to test the other two, and once I use them, then I'll be able to tell you what my preference is. But generally, if I'm to be honest, I don't think that I will have a personal preference amongst the four, because they are really designed for a team of four. I don't know whether you played other military tactical games, and you will know that when you're building a team, you need to have a team of 4 specialists. So one will be a specialist with explosives, the other will be a linguist, the third one will be good with vehicles, the fourth one will be very good with primary and secondary weapons. Or you'll have somebody who's quite good in navigation, or you have somebody who's very good in languages, and that sort of thing. And therefore each part which they occupy is integral to that team. If one of them dies, then the team is like literally suffering, a bit like if you lost a leg or arm. And I think that's likely to be present here in Anthem. All 4 javelin suits are compatible, so if you're attacking the enemy, you can come up with a strategy which is going to really integrate them perfectly, and you'll be very mighty. So I was talking early on, I'm not sure whether you were early on here with us with the broadcast, but principally I was considering the following. Let's say we are attacking a particular enemy which is fast and deadly. Then I would set up an ambush, and an ambush would be set up around certain rocks, where we can hide, with maybe 2 Colossuses and 1 Ranger. And then I would have Interceptor or Storm drawing that enemy, that boss, towards the ambush point. And then once they reach the ambush point, because Interceptor and Storm are quite fast, they can be running much faster than the other 2, then they could be hit with massive firepower, and then obviously they will be obliterated. So that's the idea that I had, and this is how I could be integrating several javelin suits within a team. And Dress DK says, I really can't wait. Well, I can share that view. I also can't wait. I'm really very eager for everything to crack on. And Sintrive says, I think 95% will be mining Storm. I guess you mean 95% people who like Storm, yeah? Yeah, I mean Storm is like a mage, and therefore similar to mages in Dragon Age and Neverwinter, the characters with special abilities. That's basically the core concept. Game Hut says, best javelin for me was Storm. That AoE is amazing. Yeah, that's right. And that was it called Infinite Weapon or the Ultimate Weapon? When you click for the massive firepower, and you really hit the enemy with all of that special subclass ability, so they all get frozen and destroyed instantly. It's very, very powerful. But mind you, the Infinite Weapon with Ranger was very, very good as well. I used it quite a few times, and I have some clips of that as well on my Twitter. So for everyone watching, just join my Twitter and have a look. There are lots of postings there on Anthem, and I have lots of clips which are presenting you with my gameplay and the action I was engaging some of the bosses and the enemies, and they're very enjoyable to watch. If you watch them, they're very short and crisp, so nobody will be bored, and each clip is up to about 90 seconds long, and you get really a good flavour of what it's like to be having contact with his enemies. So I really highly recommend everyone to view those. I also have lots of different screenshots which I've taken during the gameplay, and they've been very positively received, and I had immediate responses from the BioWare team. The big boss, Casey Hudson, he liked some of those postings, and Sila Costa, who is the lead producer, also responded to my feedback. So it was very, very rewarding to see that their team was literally watching the comments and the activity on social networking and everything that was coming their way. So they were literally having a few sleepless nights for certain. Well, you could imagine it, obviously, and understand it, because they spent the last 7 years building a game and they wanted to be a success, and they were all very concerned that things were backfiring on Friday with, you know, the technical issues. But I think generally, considering that BioWare does have many, many dedicated followers amongst the gamers of Mass Effect and Neverwinter and Dragon Age, the vast majority of people will be very understanding and basically waiting for everything to unravel, you know. So that's certainly the way I see it. GameHut says, I will be playing a Fire Damage Storm. Terrific. As said, I think Storm is going to be seen as an integral part of a 4-piece, and if you are setting up a crew and you build certain strategies, I'm quite certain that Storm simply should never ever be missed in that team because of these abilities. I played with a team of 4, basically random gamers coming in, and the game obviously brought me into that team. And these were experienced gamers, you could tell. They played other RPG games where different abilities were being used. And immediately, as they realized that I was using my freezing subclass, not sure what it's called exactly, it has a particular name, but I don't remember it now. And they had set up, a certain kind of strategy. So I had Colossus watching my back and firing the rockets at the enemy from distance. I had a Ranger using primary and secondary on any of the enemies that were being frozen down by myself. And then I had Interceptor, who was drawing the enemies towards me. And we were doing the whole thing like that. It was just absolutely terrific. Full of joy to see that. I joined the crew literally on the spot, and everything was already strategized. But that's the way it is going to be. And I quite like the idea that all 4 javelins are designed to be providing the gamer with different abilities, because then you can strategize better. And we'll see what enemies we are to face. I think sometimes maybe a crew of 4 may well have to include maybe 2 Colossuses and 2 Rangers, and maybe sometimes could be 2 Interceptors and 1 Colossus, depending on the enemy, depending on the situation. But once we've gone through the game at least once or twice, we are going to be a lot more clear in our mind on what is needed and how everything could be done, and strategies could then be emerging. Our community forums will be fundamental for all strategizing and for everything, and we'll be able to talk at length. And I'm quite excited to see how people are going to be receiving the progression. I'm also very curious to see how many sub-quests are going to be there. I remember when doing Mass Effect 2, I was just staggered by the number of sub-quests. They were just almost infinite. There's all the time new sub-quests coming in. And I'm hoping that that is also likely to be present in this game as well, because I really like RPG element. I like RPGs overall. So therefore the game will be significantly different to Destiny, and not just Destiny, to the Division and all the other games with the multiplayer element. We want to have games which can literally be shoulder to shoulder with one another. We don't want just the games which are mutually competing. It's not enjoyable, really. So let's see what other thoughts you guys had about Anthem. Are you excited about the game? Are you comparing it to any other game that you like? Are you also Mass Effect fans? Are there any games that you wish to play beforehand? Are you also considering whether to build crews and, you know, have your own separate teams? Are you going to be doing it as a single player, or are you going to be entering the game randomly with other guys? What's the score? Let's hear it. Once again, I thank FoxUA91, Game3 Hut, L0, CDRW69, Kiko Josie, Obsessed Pants, Daddy Splatty, Mad Child, Dominican Star, Infinity UK, Clipshot1, Cashiflet, Alex MNY, Super Say MPC, Silas1406, Radical Gaming. Thank you all guys for coming and for following me. Thank you for being our new community members. Our community is growing exponentially by the hour. I've been personally quite astonished by the number of people who were participating in our feedback. Really full of joy, and really encouraged to see so many positive thinking, forward-thinking people supporting the game. Coming back to my channel, I can also ask and invite you to join me on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. Each one of those forums is providing you with a different content. My Twitch is my main broadcasting channel, and I broadcast every day. The content is exclusively on this channel connected to video gaming, and this channel has been closely pegged to Destiny World for now. Although this is still quite a new channel, it's been in operation for about 4.5 months. And on Twitter you will get the best news on the industry and whatever is happening out there. So hot off the press all comes to Twitter. And in addition to that, you will get some of my own personal news. You'll get my screenshots and my video clips of obviously the gameplay. You will have all communication with our community members as well. And there are lots of postings related to our associates who are also Twitch online entrepreneurs and streamers. And I also have lots of contacts who are doing cosplay. So if you're interested, just have a look, and you can combine Twitter with Instagram. As I said, Twitter is providing you with very short news, and anything interesting that's happening out there in the community and in the industry will be on Twitter immediately. Instagram will provide you with lots of posters, graphic design and concept art which is related to the games I'm currently engaging. As you know, I'm a dedicated RPG fan and I love Destiny, so if you go there you'll find some concept art related to Mass Effect, to Destiny, Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Elder Scrolls, Lara Croft, Tomb of what's it called, the Shadow of Tomb Raider. You will find images related to the Division, The Last of Us. You'll have Red Dead Redemption, some images and some concept art of Anthem as well. Although I have to be precise, BioWare have not been releasing much as yet, so they're keeping everything close to their chest for obvious reasons. So we'll have a lot more as the game gets released, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to have many more postings of concept art which is Anthem related on Instagram. And I'm trying to think what other games do we have there. Call of Duty, we have Black Ops, we have PUBG, so quite a large number. And also I did play recently, as I was promoting PlayStation Now services, some golden oldies such as Grim Fandango and Primal. In addition to that, I also played Bloodborne, which is a very exciting, atmospheric, relatively newish game. And then also The Last of Us. So quite a selection. If interested, have a look. And we are having some messages coming in as well. So Game Hut says Anthem is Warframe and Destiny combined in one package. Absolutely, and I would just add Mass Effect to that. Warframe, Destiny and Mass Effect, because there are some conceptual similarities in terms of what is to be done out there compared to Warframe and Destiny, and that is purely in terms of the open world exploration and some of the missions, some of the tasks, multiplayer, that sort of thing, various difficulty levels and collection of loot. But in terms of the actual gameplay, I feel the game is closer to Mass Effect. There's a very strong RPG element, lots of puzzles, and that is what the other games do not have. So I would say that probably. Also The Division, a lot of people were making links, because obviously The Division is not a sci-fi game, a typical sci-fi game, and it does have a fire team of 4, and it's possible that The Division, which will also come out halfway through February, may be competing, in terms of its multiplayer with the sales of Anthem. But I think the aura of the game, the flavor of it all is very significantly different. And Sintra says this game would be interesting if you could play solo only. And Game Hut says you can play solo, just select private. And Game Hut says, well, I wouldn't recommend it because it is going to be too hard. I agree, and I'll tell you why. It's very similar to what you have in Destiny with strikes and raids. These are the missions designed to be played together with other guys, and if you're doing them by yourself, you have to be really, really experienced and with top power levels, because otherwise you will not be able to complete. And this is likely to be featuring to a degree in Anthem as well. Well, you are going to be able to do everything as a single player. It will be down to you. It's definitely an option available out there for you, and if you want to pursue it, you can. Because at the beginning, this was not quite clear in the demo, we couldn't easily see the difference between the solo mission and the multiplayer. Well, I couldn't, and I was being thrown in randomly. But when you are doing your game, then once the game is fully released, you are going to be able to select at the beginning whether you want to be doing the multiplayer or a single player, and then obviously you come in as either of those two, and then you'll crack on. But let's not forget, this is the first major multiplayer project coming out of BioWare, so obviously what they will want to see, regardless of the player preference, is as much multiplayer content and gameplay as possible, because they designed the game like that, a team of 4, each character having special abilities, is exactly that. Don't know whether you played Mass Effect or Dragon Age, but they had exactly the same thing with a fire team of 3. Although you couldn't control those characters, you were able to use their abilities, and they would use the abilities directly on the enemy, so it really worked perfectly. When doing it by yourself, well, but in this instance, you are going to be able to extract yourself from the rest of the team, which is what you couldn't do in Mass Effect and Dragon Age, In there, these guys would come together with you. Automatically they'd follow you. In here, there's no need. You go out there, you play by yourself. But I'll tell you one thing, similar to Destiny and similar to all the other multiplayer games, open world games, once you're out in the wild, you will come across other gamers. So although you're doing it all by yourself, you will stumble upon other guys doing it, and it's very likely that lots of them will engage with some of your activities. So that is another add-on, And then when you're there, I think you probably are going to be able to invite them into your team if you wanted. So definitely also a very interesting and providing us with extra social content, which is going to be much appreciated, Because we want to see connection and communication, and we want to see that in the game and outside of the game. People connecting with other gamers worldwide, making new friends, becoming really good friends. You would have heard stories of those who met through gaming and then they became partners, sometimes husbands and wives. And that's just wonderful. And what's interesting is that with certain games, and particularly with people who are natural by the way they play and the way they broadcast, once you meet them in real life, there is absolutely no difference between the way they come across whilst broadcasting or gaming and real life. And you know, that's terrific. This is the quality I like the best about certain streamers and gamers that have been coming to my forums. And I made lots of very good new friends and people who came from all over the world, you know, the different countries, with different kinds of affinities. And what really connected us together was our love of gaming, our love of connectivity, and our love of communication. These are the three key areas. I have to say that on my channel I very rarely had some unpleasant characters coming in. There were a few, and the majority of those were trying to really present some sort of formidable score and rub it off on others, and my modifiers immediately dealt with them because this is not a competitive channel. Otherwise we had assembled a very large number of people who are dedicated video gamers and people who love their games, and they adore entering forums where you can openly talk about what you love doing the most. And therefore the channel has been presenting everyone with very, very high quality content, and that had been really well embraced and recognized. So I have to say, I started the channel as an experiment, and I couldn't believe how quickly it all evolved, and how much of that quality content was coming in every single day. And it's just absolutely tremendous. The knowledge that some of the Destiny veterans have on ins and outs of Destiny world is just staggering. I mean, I have good memory and I do remember things, you know, quite succinctly, but when you look at the memory that some people have and the attention to detail given, you know, every single item which is collected and how it can be used, this is just simply mind-blowing. And it is so useful for the veterans to be talking about the knowledge in an open public broadcast for everyone to view, because all the other newbies and the beginner gamers can then learn. It's not there for people to be impressed by, it's simply there because, you know, they're helping. And I'm quite certain we are going to have a lot of that with Anthem, because Anthem, also to do with his javelin suits, is going to be quite tricky. It's not going to be a straightforward game, and you'll have lots of different ways in which you can approach the enemy and, you know, tackle the hostilities and all of that. So definitely a lot to look forward to, and with a lot of scope for community content, interactivity and communication. And I'm very glad that they created that social hub. The social hub was mentioned a little while back, and it was after beta tests. I think they very seriously considered it, and it's ready now for. I don't think it's ready for us to join in during the demo testing, but it is going to be there definitely for the game release or the launch. So therefore, I'm very, very happy to see it. And you know, the social hub is going to be a place where you can just simply chill and meet others, and maybe present others with your new kit, whatever you acquired in your mission, with everything else, you know, just like you would if you went to a pub or I would say a nightclub. A nightclub is a different kind of place of interest, but you know, in any kind of forum where there is some sort of social interactivity. So that's the idea. I'm just curious to see how many people will be able to get in there, because I think the space will not be infinite, considering that there's going to be millions of people playing the game at the same time. So the social hub will probably containing up to 16 or 24 people or so. But still good enough, so you can come there very frequently. I thought that the Destiny developer, Bungie, did that beautifully for Destiny 1 and for Destiny 2 in fact, because you have the base, which is very big, and then people have to come to the base in order to collect certain items, to do the admin, to do the vault, and then really can meet others in there immediately. So they have to be passing through the social hub area, and I thought that was really completely ingenious, really, really high quality idea, which paid off massively. If you were to go back on my Twitter, you will see some of the clips which I've done with other community members when they were dancing or presenting us with certain skills. all of that was happening in that area, which is the terrace area, you know, in the tower. And very, very good, and very well received by the community as well, because people liked watching these clips. The clips are short, you know, less than a minute, but you see all those guys coming in and then talking and showing off a bit, and you know, so it's, and what I quite like watching in the social hub, the kind of unknown, formidable, exciting, mysterious type of kit that people collected. Some people also bought some of the masks and realizing that they have something interesting which perhaps I would want to have. And having this sort of mysterious, exciting, unusual kit is very good for social interactions, because if you are integrating your character appearance with your social networking, so you know, with your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you can be using either video clips or screenshots of that outfit, and then you'll draw a lot of attention. And you, by, you know, posting them there and approaching the community with a new outfit, you're also drawing attention and, you know, bringing in new people to talk to you. If you are considering how to build your own community, I can certainly recommend you the use of Instagram. Instagram is a phenomenon. It is astonishing how many people are using it and how many people you have, you know, coming and viewing your videos and clips. Is just incredible. And Instagram is a very good way of connecting with serious gamers as well. You'll know from experience that Instagram generally is providing people with something which is very personal and personalized. So these are selfies, or, you know, pictures of food or where people went. But equally, for those who are serious gamers, you will have a concept which is presented in there, and sometimes you'll have scores, or you'll have something which is telling you more about the character or the gamer in question, and some very, very good links could be made there. I was really quite staggered by the number of people that had come to my Instagram, because everything on it is game related, so there aren't any personalized postings such as selfies or, you know, types of food I'm eating and that sort of thing. And the interest was serious. People liked seeing concept art because they know that I like graphic novels, and I treat video games as a form of modern art, a very respectable modern art. And you know, they really liked watching those images, and they like communicating. So that's definitely one of the ways of doing the community and building it. So we've been here for more than 3 hours. We talked about Anthem, we talked about video game industry, we talked about everything Anthem and BioWare related. I had lots of questions and news coming in from the community. I hope I answered them well, and indeed, if I forgot to tell you anything, just drop me a line, send me a tweet, and I'll catch up. The idea is to present everyone with initially a small or short introduction, and after that with the latest Anthem related news, and this is what we had already 4 times this week. I can tell you that the number of people who came to the Anthem feedback forum had exceeded 2,000, and that's fantastic. Not everyone stayed throughout the broadcast, but we've had 2,000 people coming and providing, you know, different kinds of ideas and views, and walking through the channel, so to speak, and that's phenomenal. I'm very grateful for that. Anthem is a brand new game, still not out yet, and it is really truly humbling to see how many people are interested in sharing their anticipations and views and expectations and everything which is Anthem related. So I really thank everybody for that. I'll read out our new community members as well. I'm very grateful for you coming here tonight, and for being obviously our new community members and following my channel on Twitch. That's FoxUA91, Game3 Hut, L01, CDRW69, then Obsessed Pants 16, Kiki Josie 11, Dandy Splatty, Madchild 187, Dominican Star 7, Infinity UK, Clipshot 1, Cashiflat, Alex MNVI, Super Say MPC, Silas 1406, Radical Gaming 25, Jeff T, Red 666, Dr. Dementos, Sickly SWF, Jenny Loyback. Thank you guys, thank you for coming and joining the channel. Thank you for being our new community members. Our Anthem community is fast growing and indeed joining hands with our Destiny community. As I said earlier, I believe that those two communities can live together and that all the gamers could happily swing from one game to another, as they appear to be significantly different, although similar in some ways. So, we are coming to the end of this broadcast for tonight. I thank everybody for participating, for providing us with your feedback, with your questions and views, with your answers, with your expectations, for being here, for connecting, for communicating, and basically finding new community members and friends for everyone. Thank you for that. I will be tomorrow playing Anthem demo, literally from the word go. We'll have to see how soon the servers are going to be fully operational, but definitely the weekend on this channel is going to be another Anthem weekend. So if you're interested, remember that, and once you get the notification that the stream is up and running, please come in. It will be even more interesting for you to watch the gameplay and then comment than what we would have done during the week purely by discussing everything. And regrettably, due to the fact that this is still at the very demo stage, I'm not able to show you any clips or anything as I'm streaming on PlayStation 4, and it's quite tedious just looking at this one menu screen. But I hope you guys enjoyed everything that's been said, and I hope you liked communicating to our other community members and making new bonds and creating new friendships. I hope you will continue to do that here on this channel. And I'm bringing this broadcast now to a close. This broadcast will continue very shortly with my Destiny 1 stream. As you know, Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 are my major streams here on this channel. On Destiny 1 I'm playing my third character, Titan, and progressing forward with the missions. Hope you guys are gonna come in and have a look. If you had not played Destiny, just to get the flavor of it, Destiny, like Anthem, is a truly astonishing game. Complete and total industry leader in every way, and a game that is going to be played for many generations to come. So if you've not tried the Destiny world, do so, come in and have a look. I'm sure you're going to fall in love with it, considering that Destiny 2 is massively evolving with its annual pass and the seasons, which are presented with new goodies and new content, and definitely a good time to either reacquaint if you played this in the past, or simply to discover it. Right, my Destiny 1 stream will commence in about 5 minutes. I hope you guys are going to be coming to the channel and having a look. And once again, I thank you all for your participation, for your feedback, for your comments and views. As said, the final comments and the feedback is going to be collated and then sent to BioWare. All of it, of course, is going to be fully anonymous and confidential. It will comprise everything that's been said in general terms, and BioWare are going to be very interested in hearing from all of us Twitch online streamers and entrepreneurs, stroke broadcasters, as we are going to be providing the constructive feedback which was raised by our community members. So thank you all for that. And on that note, I would wish you all a very, very good night.